Inspired by the real-life case of the Gainesville Ripper, where 5 students were murdered over 4 days in Shreveport, Louisiana, as well as John Carpenter's seminal slasher Halloween, screenwriter Kevin Williamson became concerned and paranoid about intruders when he found an open window in the house where he was staying. This inspired him to draft an 18-page treatment about a young woman alone in a house who was taunted over the phone and then attacked by a masked killer. Titled Scary Movie, the treatment was shelved while Williamson worked on another script, but then was eventually dusted off by Williamson when he found himself in dire financial straits. Hoping to quickly sell the treatment to get himself out of his financial hole, Williamson secluded himself in his residence in Palm Springs and listened to the soundtrack of Halloween while he developed the treatment into a full-length script over 3 days, as well as coming up with short 5-page outlines for what was then titled Scary Movie 2 and Scary Movie 3. Despite caution from his agent that the level of violence and gore in his script would make it impossible to sell, and following a very significant bidding war, the Scary Movie script was purchased by Dimension Films and parent company Miramax, who ordered Williamson to remove much of the gorier contents. Things such as graphic depictions of the internal organs of gutted murder victims rolling down their legs were elements that Miramax were not willing to negotiate on. After the sale, iconic horror director Wes Craven was approached by Dimension Films' head Bob Weinstein, that's not the bad one, because he thought that Craven was the perfect choice to blend horror and comedy and ultimately bring Williamson's script to the screen. However, as he was busy developing the remake of The Haunting, he declined, forcing Weinstein to approach other directors including Robert Rodriguez, Danny Boyle, George A. Romero, and Sam Raimi. But ultimately, Weinstein said they didn't get it and mistook it as purely a comedy. After many repeated requests and proposals to him, Craven eventually accepted the job after The Haunting fell through. But, more interestingly, after he heard that Drew Barrymore had signed on to the project in the lead role, which gave him a suspicion that Scary Movie may be different from other films of the genre. However, before filming began, Barrymore was faced with unexpected commitments which meant that she could no longer be available to play the lead role of Sidney Prescott, which also had the domino effect of causing Craven to reconsider his decision to direct the film. Impressed by her performance in Party of Five, Craven asked Neve Campbell to audition for the part, believing that she could play a character who was both innocent but could also realistically handle herself when in physical conflict. After succeeding in the audition, Campbell took the role, stating that she adored the character and that she's a fantastic character for any kind of movie. Principal photography took place over 8 weeks, but not without its fair share of issues. In approaching Santa Rosa High School to double for Woodsboro High School, the school board insisted on seeing the script and immediately objected to the violence against and by teenage children. Moreover, local newspapers criticized the project and directly brought up the murder of 12-year-old Polly Klaas 3 years prior as a reason the area was so sensitive against depictions of violence. This resulted in the production shifting locations at the last minute. Additionally, producer Bob Weinstein didn't love the ghost face mask, believing it to be, quote, not scary. What was worse was that the studio looked at early dailies of the movie and didn't love what they saw, going so far as to consider replacing Craven. But to alleviate their concerns, Craven developed a rough version of the opening 13 minutes, which ultimately reinvigorated their confidence in their director. As the film neared completion, the Weinstein brothers didn't think that the title of Scary Movie was adequate, as the movie included elements of satire and comedy. And so, inspired by their love of Michael Jackson, the name was ultimately changed from Scary Movie to the title 90s horror fans revere today, Scream. Hey Colin, I got a little bit of a question for you.
Yeah, what's up, buddy?
Do you like scary movies?
No. Yeah, of course. It's like asking Courtney Cox if she liked shooting her husbands. Of course I do.
Ooh.
Oh, I'm sorry, not Courtney Cox. Courtney Love. Wrong one.
Mm-hmm. Wrong one. Yep. Well, hey, that was a great beginning. That's a great way to open the episode.
Some two 90s references in there. There you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here at Midnight Double Feature. This is us covering Scream. We are sitting here post-Halloween, but I couldn't let this go. You know, like I had this thought in my mind a while back, probably right before October as well. And I'm like, man, I really wanted to talk about Scream. And, you know, Halloween came and went. We covered our Halloween movies, our scary movies of the month. And I'm just like, I'm not going to let this go. Like, I really want to talk about Halloween because you know, spoiler alert, I love this movie.
You really want to talk about Halloween?
Did I talk about that? Did I talk about
you
Halloween?
said I really want to talk about Halloween. I'm like, in general?
Sam Hain? No, I want to talk about Scary Movie. Well, Scary Movie as it was called. Scream.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I think this movie's incredibly fascinating. And you know, it's created by the horror legend that is Wes Craven. Rest in peace, sir. But you know, before we get into our thoughts, before we get into our commentary on this movie, we're going to go ahead and plug our socials real quick and talk about the Green Room. So, Colin, why don't you do that for us?
Yeah. Well, actually, it's funny. You speaking of scary movie, that's one of the titles that we've covered in our Patreon members only exclusive. That's called The Green Room. That is patreon.com/Midnight Double Feature. It's $5 a month. Everybody can sign up. We've got, I don't know, a few dozen episodes in there now, which our
36,
commentary. Yeah, 36
episodes.
There you go. Exactly. But if you guys wanted to listen to us, we did a commentary on the first Scary Movie. So you can watch it at home and kind of laugh along with us and stuff like that. But again, that's patreon.com/Midnight Double Feature. And that's called The Green Room. It's only $5 a month. You get access to all of those episodes there.
Yeah, and we love our Patreons. We love our patrons. We love our Green Room members.
Our Midnight Double Featurettes, as I like to call them.
yes. And you know, we're about to record after this episode, Streets of Fire, which is our lovely Jose Rivera's choice. So Jose is a loyal member of the Green Room, of the after party of Midnight Double Feature. We can't thank him enough. And you know, the Green Room members now get options to choose whatever they want to hear. And we just kind of pick it out at random. And this week's is Jose's pick. So thank you so much to Jose. We're going to be recording Streets of Fire for you soon. If you do want to hear coverage of your movie, please sign up to the Green Room. It's $5 a month, as Colin said. And you get a whole bunch of bonus episodes and voting power. So yeah, and socials. If you do want to follow us, head to midnightdoublefeature.com. There's all these links there, but also in the show notes, whatever app you're listening on, you can check out the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, wherever. Just check out the show notes on whatever app you're listening on. Yeah, that's it. Goodbye, everybody.
Yeah, see you later. Oh, rate and review us on iTunes. Takes 5 minutes. It's free. It's 5 stars. It helps out so much. Even if you don't have iTunes, whatever your preferred listening platform is, just write us a review. Let us know how we're doing.
Yeah, let us know how we're doing. Let us know how we can improve. I promise to take your constructive criticism in stride, but I might hit back and be like, fuck you, you're wrong.
I might get like an 18-page email.
Right. But yeah, that'll be really helpful. Guys, thank you so much. Now let's get into this. Let's get into Scream. Colin, when was the first time you saw Scream?
I honestly don't know. I have no like concrete. This was definitely the first. I can remember like the first time I saw, you know, like a Jason movie or like a Nightmare on Elm Street or even like Evil Dead 2. But Scream was not really. And I grew up in a house of horror. Literally, my parents were just horribly abusive. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, we grew up.
Decrepit house.
Yeah, my mom used to put cigarettes out on me. No, we grew up watching a shit ton of horror movies, but Scream was never really in that revolver of movies we would pull the trigger on. It was never really a big thing. And even though this came out when I was 6, you know, this is definitely something that I remember watching, but it was probably like an edited for television version that came on in like 2001 or 2000, you know, like, cause I was only 6 years old when this came out. I probably wouldn't have watched this until I was at least like 10, 11, 12. And I remember liking it. But being that young, a lot of their cynicism and a lot of their shit just fell on deaf ears. You know, I remember not really getting a lot of it the first time and not being blown away by it. And to be honest, I'm still not entirely like just blown away by this movie. It's great. I think it's a great shot in the arm for not only Wes Craven, but also Drew Barrymore's career to a lesser extent. I think it's very clever, and it was a real great boost for the horror genre in general, even though it kind of spawned a lot of imitators. It was great for the horror genre, and especially, you know, an older voice, Wes Craven being the one to kind of like look at all, you know, the genre and all these other directors as well and say like, yeah, we're kind of formulaic, and this stuff is like inherently can be a little misogynistic, you know, and like there was an interesting thing going on with Wes Craven at this time. And to be completely honest, he really needed this. And I love Wes Craven, though. Serpent and the Rainbow, The People Under the Stairs. I think his other movies beyond Scream and Nightmare on Elm Street are very underrated. I like Wes Craven a lot. But all in all, I enjoyed this movie. I don't remember the first time that I saw it. And I've never really been one of the people that's just like, this has got to be in my lineup. I've got to watch this. I've definitely enjoyed them. And they are some of the best like slashers to come out in the last few decades. Very, I guess, like the modern slasher, even though this is like somewhat pre-internet, somewhat like when the internet was everywhere. I mean, but I don't know. I'm kind of torn between really loving this movie and sometimes just being like, you know, I can take it or leave it. I'm not just, you know, and I feel like that's sacrilege. I feel like people just worship this movie, and it is great. But there's just parts of it that just don't resonate with me very well. But you just gotta love the music, the way that this movie is shot. I love the way that this movie is shot, and the fact that it spawned a whole other franchise of spoof movies, of Scary Movie. So I think there's a lot to be thankful for, but there's a lot to rightfully criticize this movie for, and we can kind of get into that as it goes along. That's mainly my opening thoughts.
Awesome. Yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting conversation because I think you're on the money there. Like, it's not, you know, for me as well, it's not my favorite movie of all time. You know me, I'm not the biggest horror fanatic. You know, it's not really my genre. It's not the world that I live in. You know, I'm more of a Prisoners kind of guy, you know, like a dark drama crime movie. I mean, like, you know, Steph and I just watched the David Fincher Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. You know, like that's my world. By the way, I'm threatening, you know, covering that on the podcast one day because that is such a great movie.
I'm down.
But yeah, look, so Scream, I first saw it in preparation of Scream 4. So 2011 was when I saw it. So I'm 15 years old. 14 years old? No. How old was I?
I'd be 21, 2011. So
no, at that point it was 15. Scream was 15 years old.
Oh, my bad.
So yeah, no, so I was 18. Yeah, okay, so I'm 18 years old, and that's the first time I saw it. And you know, I'd obviously heard so much about it. I'd heard how much it changed the genre, but at that point, I thought I knew what it was. You know, via hearsay, via like, you know, people like telling me what it was about and what the mood of it was, what the tone of it was. And I just kind of like, you know, like a little bit of a shithead. I just kind of like, you know, was like, I know everything about it. I don't need to watch it. Right. Mm-hmm. So, you know, the Scream 4 is coming out and I'm feeling the hype. Right. So I'm like, okay, look, let me go back and watch this movie. And to be quite honest, man, I kind of fell in love with this movie. You know, not like it's not Halloween, right? I mean, like, I don't think they're trying to set Ghostface as the next Michael Myers or anything, but the cleverness of this script and the misdirection and the rewatch factor and you know the acting is the quality of the acting is kind of like the weakest part, but I think it's interesting because Craven is trying to get them to play a stereotypical sort of set of characters, you know, that you might see in 70s slasher movies or 80s slasher movies. So, you know, you kind of like throw that out the window. You know, you kind of like, oh, okay, you can kind of let the acting go because they're trying to make a movie that's reminiscent of slasher movies of the 80s. Like, so, you know, I'm kind of like, okay, that's fine. But I think Kevin Williamson's script is seriously clever. Like it's like even like by today's standards, it is so fucking good. Like the little looks that Billy Loomis gives Stu, like, you know, it's just like, oh fuck, okay, like, you know, you pick it up on the second go around. The music, Marco Beltrami's score is great, and the way that Wes Craven shoots this movie, like you said, it feels larger than life, but at the same time, it feels very very much like a tribute to those older movies. Yeah, man, like I like that first watch, I really fell in love with it, and then that caused me to go watch Scream 2, and then Scream 3, and then obviously Scream 4. And I'm excited for the new one. You know, I'm keen to see what another pair of directors might do with this franchise, because this is the first time that Wes Craven's not stepping into the director's chair, because he's obviously now passed away. So it's going to be interesting to see someone else's take on this franchise. I'm excited to see how they kind of how they tie in the changing landscape of cinema and movies into the new ones. So I wonder how that goes.
So did he direct all four of them, or just the first and the fourth?
He directed all four of them, yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Because, you know, he started Nightmare on Elm Street and like never came back to like New Nightmare. That's crazy.
Right, exactly. And Scream 4 was his last movie before he passed away.
Yeah, actually Netflix has the Movies That Made Us, and I think they just dropped one of their episodes was A Nightmare on Elm Street, and how that movie really, there's a reason why they call it the New Line Cinema, the house that Freddy built. And it's very, very interesting that like Wes Craven just packed up one day when he was 30 and was like, I'm going to be a director. It's like, fuck, that is insane. But I honestly, I love John Carpenter. He's my OG. I love John Carpenter. But honestly, I feel like Wes Craven is kind of like the George Harrison of the Rushmore of horror directors. Like he doesn't really get the credit that he deserves. And he's kind of like a more quiet kind of figure. But yeah, his last movies I guess before, because like They came out and there's a few of them that are them or they or something. I don't know. It was terrible.
My first Craven movie was not Nightmare on Elm Street. It was Red Eye. Yeah,
I knew it.
And people consider his career after Scream to not be great, and that's fair enough. Like his career after Scream is a bit wonky. Wishy-washy, because look, Scream 3 is really not that great. Like unless you're kind of like a fan of the franchise already and you're built in, it's really not that good. Scream 2 is really solid, but fucking Red Eye, man. I love Red Eye, dude. Red Eye is a solid, tight thriller, man. Like it's so fucking good.
It's very good. And like kind of at the time, Cillian Murphy and Rachel McAdams, they weren't unknowns, but like that movie, we should probably cover that soon, because it's like $1.20, $1.30. It moves like that.
It's so quick.
It's very good.
First Cillian Murphy movie I saw, and dude, that guy, I'm not even kidding. This is without hyperbole, gave me nightmares. He's fucking terrifying in that movie, because he's a scary looking dude. Like he's got a weird bone structure, man.
This is what like the Robert Fisher's company does in Inception. He's like finds women and like terrorizes them on a plane.
On planes, yeah. But I think Craven directs the shit out of this movie, dude. This movie deserves all the praise that it gets, in my opinion. You know, they said that this movie reinvigorated the horror franchise. I think the horror genre, and that's completely adept. Like that's completely on the money. I think. You know, this is. It's just a fun watch, you know, and whether it's supposed to be torn apart to pieces on a podcast is debatable. I don't know, but it's a fun watch from start to finish. The characters are great; they're all fun to watch. Gale Weathers is awesome. Dewey is a fucking nightmare of a character.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
But like, you know, I just love I love the mystery element of it. You know, like I love that it keeps you guessing, and I love that very early on, Billy Loomis, by the way, Loomis. Oh, yeah. Billy Loomis is, you know, he's kind of like ruled out as a killer. Like, you know, I love that. Like there's all this twists and turns, and it's just it's a great movie from start to finish. I think it's solid.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's interesting seeing Wes Craven's career, because what he did with this kind of not only did it gave his career a shot in the arm, it did the same thing for the horror genre, but it feels like what 28 Days Later and Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead and Shaun of the Dead all did for the zombie genre in the early 2000s. It feels like it just kind of kicked off this thing. And now slashers, it's not a fad. Like, that's never going to stop. There's always going to be slasher movies, for better or for worse. And I'm sure we can kind of get into that as we go on. Right.
And, to have a movie that's not, to have a movie that's self-referential, like that knows that it's a film, and there are other films out there that actually recognizes John Carpenter's Halloween, or Carrie. I don't think that Scream is the first movie to do that, like to be that meta. But I the idea of teenagers watching too many movies and being inspired by too many movies to go on a serial killing rampage. That is such a great elevator pitch for a movie. It just appeals to me in every way. I love it. No.
I was actually going to say that's one of my only, and I'll just kind of get into this here just because you said it. But my only one of my big gripes with this movie is that I get, because I was very cynical in like high school. I'm very cynical now as an adult, but I knew nobody in fucking high school that talked like this. I had very few friends that spoke in movie quotes, and if it was something funny or something random. But we weren't all like sitting around being like, "Oh yeah, there's rules for body." I was just like, "Dude, shut the fuck up." If I never met somebody like that.
That's kind of what I wanted to talk about very sort of like briefly. The movie kind of, and you can take it as a negative because it wants to have its cake and eat it too, right? So it wants to pay homage to these 80s slasher movies, the Freddy versus the Jason movies where, I don't know, teenagers would be talking amongst each other and stuff, but like the dialogue would be cringy, right? It wouldn't be things that normal teenagers say to each other. But at the same time, the movie recognizes that it's a movie, so it needs to kind of overcome that. But you can't really balance those two things out, right? You're going to have in this movie that recognizes it's a movie terrible dialogue because that's what you're kind of going for. You want to try and attribute that to the 80s genre, but it's going to ultimately end up not sounding like normal, like real people.
Like when she's in the bathroom and that girl's like, and she realizes suicide is so out of season. And I was just like, if I ever heard somebody talk like that in real life, like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, Jesus Christ. That was the only thing that sprung out a little bit to me on this watch. I was like, okay, this is a little too, like, this movie's a little too up its own ass sometimes, but I can take that to get through. It's kind of like you got to take the lump to get to the end of it. I'm like, I can take that lump. Like, that's fine. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't ruin everything for me, but it's a little bit of a stretch.
How are you on the sequels of this? Where do you stand on those?
I saw the second one. I started the third one, and I just turned it off. And I don't think that this movie is good enough to have spawned all of the shit that it has spawned. Like, didn't they make like a MTV like television show, and now they're rebooting it?
It's on Netflix.
Yeah. I saw the trailer for the reboot, and I was like, that looks like shit. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm not excited for
the
that.
new one? For Scream 5?
I think that they saw what Halloween did. I was like, we got to cash in on that. It's like, no, see, Halloween has like 20 years on you. Like, there's a reason why that's really cool. Like, I don't know. I didn't really love the trailer for that. So I don't agree with how popular or successful this movie is not for debate, but I don't agree that it was good enough to spawn the franchise that it spawned afterwards, Yeah.
For me, I really like the second one. Because Steph and I, during Halloween, we just watched all of them. So they're completely fresh in my mind. But I really like the second one. The second one's really solid, really strong. The third one it's a little bit of a misfire. They actually only had Nev Campbell for 10 days. And once you know that, watching the movie, you'll see it, and it just absolutely stands out like a sore thumb. Scary movie. Scream 4 is also a bit of a misfire. I don't love that movie as much as a lot of people do, and I think it's a little bit disjointed. I don't love the twists in that. I think that movie's, you can see kind of like Wes Craven being a bit like a bit not feeling up to this one kind of thing. The fifth one though, the new one, whether it is a reboot, whether it is a sequel, I don't know. They can't seem to make up their minds. I'm excited. The trailer's a bit meh, but I'm excited because it's a new director. Mm-hmm. It's the guys that did Ready or Not, which was actually pretty solid, which is a good movie. Mm-hmm. So, I'm always excited when you have someone taking the reins from someone else in a franchise, especially like a fifth movie. Like, that's the only reason I'm excited for a new Indiana Jones, because it's James Mangold directing it. Like, you know what I mean? It's the same situation. But whether that movie's going to be good or not, it's up for debate. The one thing that I really want to talk about very briefly right at the top here, the third movie in this franchise, so Scream 3, is incredibly disturbing to watch today, only because of what we know about Harvey Weinstein. So that third movie has a pretty heavy plot about a producer. So very, very briefly, to anyone who hasn't seen Scream 3, the story... Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I was like, me.
The story revolves around people who are making a movie called Stab 4 or something, because you know how there's the Stab franchise inside this. Yeah. So they're making Stab 4 or something, and they're all being killed off one by one. And one of the sort of side plots, it's a major side plot though, so it's more of a primary plot, is the executive producer, who is played by Lance Henriksen, of all people, sleeps with his actresses.
As one does.
Cajoles them, and is really, really creepy towards them, and it's really kind of wild that script was written way back when, and now everything we know about Harvey Weinstein has come out. So it's really kind of telling, and it's a wonder. Like, did Kevin Williamson know something? Like, you know what I mean? It's very...
Was it? Oh, God, what's his name? Fucking Frodo. What's his name?
Elijah Wood?
Yeah, Elijah Wood. Elijah Wood said in an interview that they made a couple of the orcs look like Peter Jackson. Or not Peter Jackson. They made him look like Harvey Weinstein. Yeah. And I kind of laughed, and I was just like, and now you're hearing these stories of like, oh, so-and-so put this character in because Harvey Weinstein. It's like, wow, if only you'd have done the same thing, but, in real life.
Right.
And it's kind of like, I love hearing those, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, man, that's really disappointing. I mean, it's like from back then you knew something was up. Like, come on,
it's bizarre, dude. It's honestly bizarre watching that movie today and being like, holy fuck, this movie was made way back when. And this couldn't have been a mistake. Like, this couldn't have been...
Like, seeing shit like that turns me into Ricky Gervais at the Golden Globes. Like, now come up here, you get your award, you thank your God, and you fuck off. And I was like, God damn it, dude, I love you.
Yeah. But look, I mean, as much of a fucking predator as he was, the guy produced fucking good movies.
Right.
I mean,
yeah. That's the worst part. Is it's the worst. It would be so easy to just be like, oh, and his career sucked. But it's like, no, he's great. It was a fucking great career. That's what sucks about it.
There'd be no Quentin Tarantino without him. I mean, Pulp Fiction, especially, I remember seeing Harvey Weinstein's name. And
he did a lot. Yeah. A lot of Gwyneth Paltrow, a lot of those people,
Yeah. What do you say we get into this bitch, man?
Let's do it, man.
So I don't love the word iconic. And I try not to use it too much these days, but man, this is iconic. This 13-minute opening sequence, right? We can talk about it as a whole, because it's like, this is like, as I said in the opening, this is the scene that Wes Craven cut together to show studio executives to prove that he was the right person to make this movie.
Yeah, this seems like the movie that would make caller ID sales just skyrocket, which I think they did. But this strikes me as like in Arachnophobia, there's that guy who puts his shoe on and the spider bites him in the foot. And now my entire life, when I go to put my shoes on, I stick my hand, wintertime, I don't care, stick my hand in my shoe and I double check. And I feel like this is the thing that makes people get caller ID like in a heartbeat, you know?
Yeah, this is, I mean, you know, like the Scream franchise gets pretty smart with that kind of stuff as it goes along. Like, you know, in the second one, someone tries to prank Sidney and like she immediately like Star 69s him and was like, hey, yeah, like, you know, I fucking know who this is.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah, like, you know, the Scream franchise eventually picks up on that, which is why, again, like, I'm excited to see what happens in the fifth one now that it's so easy to track people down. But, yeah. So, dude, this opening scene is incredibly disarming, right? I mean, it's unsettling, but it also fits in with the tropey horror cliches that the movie's kind of commenting on. Right, I mean, like you got Drew Barrymore, blonde hair, big tits, she's Home Alone. You know, like it's exactly kind of what they're going for, but like also, Drew Barrymore is a known quantity at this point in time.
Hell yeah!
You know, she is, like I said, she's the reason why Wes Craven jumped on to the project, and for her to get killed off at the beginning of the movie, she's on the posters, she's in the trailers. It's just like, can you imagine being an audience member in 1996? And being like, she's dead. Cool. I came for Drew Barrymore. Thanks. This is what would happen. This is the Last Jedi of its time. This would cause like so much discourse if this came out today. It'll be like, oh my god, are you fucking serious?
Yeah, I still haven't seen that. I still haven't seen Last Jedi, so I don't get your reference. Like,
I only use it because it's divisive.
Okay. I was like, I don't know if he's referencing plot. Oh, I see what you mean.
Maybe the better comparison would be the 2014 Godzilla. Did you ever watch that?
No.
Okay,
is that the Gareth Edwards one?
Gareth Edwards one, and Bryan Cranston was featured heavily in the trailers and stuff. And people were kind of pissed when he died, like, you know, a quarter of the way in.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen that one.
That's the only kind of comparison that really comes to mind right now. But like, that's essentially what happens here. You know, she, like I said, she was originally cast as Sidney Prescott, and then, you know, a couple things happened. She couldn't make the entire shoot, so she decided, hey, look, you know, chuck me in this opening scene. Yeah, and let's get me out of here.
You know, she's been acting apparently on her Wikipedia. It says a Drew Barrymore's first gig when she was 11 months old or something. I was like, Jesus Christ. I'm pretty sure I read that right. But
I mean, E.T., right? I mean, yeah, that was a big.
Like you're already acting at like such a fucking young age. Jesus, that's crazy. She's lucky she came out of that okay. You know, some of those child actors don't, especially to be like in the 80s and stuff. But Drew Barrymore always makes me think of Broad City because Abby Jacobson, she has this great impression of Drew Barrymore on Broad City. She's like, hi, my name is Drew Barrymore. And it is fucking hysterical, dude. Like, it is one of the funniest things I've seen in television in a long time is her impression of Drew. If you like Broad City, if you like Abby Jacobson or Ilana Glazer, check that out. It is fucking hysterical.
I want to get on it because I've heard some good stuff about it. But like, I really like Barrymore in this opening scene. She carries this really well. You know, you obviously get the line, what's your favorite scary movie? They're talking about Nightmare on Elm Street, right? Of course, like this is self-referential because it's Craven. She says the first one was scary, but the rest suck.
That's very X-Men Apocalypse when they're walking out, and you know it's like I think in X-Men Apocalypse they're walking out of Return of the Jedi, and he's like, yeah, the first one's pretty good, but the other one sucked, or something like that. I'm like,
I definitely remember that joke, but I only saw X-Men Apocalypse once because it fucking sucked ass.
Dude, I bargain with X-Men Apocalypse because it gives me a beast fight. And the beast fight is awesome. Beast fighting Cyclops. No, that is such a cool fight. Yeah, the movie's weird and I don't love it, but that whole fight scene at the end of him actually like, he's like Harry Nightwing from Batman, you know, like he's just super quick and fast. And I was like, man, this movie is almost worth that fight scene. I fucking love Beast. Sorry to get off track, no,
that's all right. I'm a Days of Future Past guy. So, I mean, yeah, that's my
definitely better movie. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Escalating tension. I love when Ghostface, you can hear the anger in his voice when he's like, just, you know, no, you listen, you little bitch, you hang up on me again, I'll gut you like a fish. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, I'll gut you like a fish. He makes me think of Master Chief a little bit. Makes me think of Master Chief's, because he's got that, I'm ending this fight. Like there's something there's a very like grit to it right around there. And, I like that a lot.
And they've been using that same guy for every movie. He's in the new one as well. Roger Jackson is his name.
Right.
The boyfriend outside, right? The movie at this point is announcing that it's not afraid to mess around in the gore factor because that guy gets fucked up, dude.
I think they had to cut some of this out to even get like a theatrical cut. I think this is worse in some versions. I haven't seen them though.
Yeah. And Ghostface is clumsy. I remember being younger and being like, oh man, I don't know if I really like that because I like my villains to be, terrifying, and there's something not terrifying about it, but like I love it now because it just makes perfect sense. I mean, they're fucking high school students. Of course they're going to be fucking
It's
clumsy.
Matthew Lillard. Of course he's like, this guy can't fucking skateboard, let alone murder people like on it gracefully.
I love it. I actually really love it. And the way this ends is incredibly impactful, right? You get Beltrami's score. It really highlights just how tragic this is. The mother's screaming is really, really brutal, and Barrymore struggling to breathe, reaching out for her parents. This, this movie juggles comedy and tragedy really fucking well, but when it hits with the tragedy, this was like, oh, fuck. This was like, oh, shit. This is heavy. This is heavy shit.
This is Rocky getting that first good punch on Drago and cutting him open.
Right.
You're like, oh, shit. He's cut. Oh, the Russian's cut, and it's a bad cut. I love Rocky Four's. Rocky Four is not a great movie, but that fight is just like, holy hell. That is a really good fight scene. Yeah, but this is very hard to watch.
Yeah, totally. We meet Sidney Prescott, played by Neve Campbell. I got a question for you. Is she the definitive final girl? This is a question I asked in the after party because think about final girl in horror movies, and I guess you can rope Alien into it, right? I mean, Alien's a horror movie. You got Ripley.
Yeah.
Who else would you have? Like Nancy from Nightmare on Elm Street, but she's not in all of the movies.
No,
right?
she's in 3 of them. So I say that at least if you can give Neve Campbell on 4 movies, I think you can get Heather Langenkamp on 3. But I think that Ellen Ripley is probably, I think that she's but I mean, to be a final girl, I don't know. I feel like Sarah Connor is also, because that first Terminator is kind of like a horror movie. It's just kind of like a slasher.
It is. It is.
And I think that you can kind of talk about that, but that's only that one movie. Linda Hamilton or Sarah Connor is not like that in the other movies. She's way more of like a badass in the other one. So, and I think a final girl, not that they can't be badasses, but I think there's more of a being caught off guard, being surprised, not being ready. Like Jamie Lee Curtis in 2018 Halloween is not a final girl to me. Like, but in the other ones, I would consider like, yeah, absolutely. Because in that one, she's got guns, like she's cocked, locked, and ready to go. Like she's baiting him out at some point versus like in the other ones, I feel like you're like the terrorist is kind of falling upon you. But it's like Ripley and Aliens. I think that's great because it's not like she prepared and set bombs and was trying to capture this thing. She just got in the power loader and was like, let's fucking go. And I was like, yes, that's fucking awesome. Using the situation to your advantage. So I don't know. I'm not exactly versed on a lot of final girls like slasher stuff. I'm not a huge fan of slashers. Honestly, it's not really my go-to kind of horror stuff.
I've got a little bit of a list here of final girls. So thank you, Wikipedia. I really appreciate this. So Mari Collingwood was in The Last House on the Left, which is the 1972 film, and then the 2009 remake.
Also Wes Craven.
Jess Bradford, Black Christmas. Sally Hardesty from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That is a good one. So Texas. Now, here's why I don't consider her the final girl. And yes, technically, by definition, she is the final girl because she's laughing in the end of the pickup truck. But she's just surviving in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Whereas I think a final girl is ultimately the one to defeat the villain. Like, I mean, like that's what ultimately
just kind of happens across a truck, I guess.
right, and like
Yeah.
she escapes. But I don't consider Sally the final girl in Texas Chainsaw Massacre because she's just trying to survive, and that's what that movie is. And that movie is top notch, dude. I love that fucking original movie, but like,
Mhm.
I don't think she's a final girl by those definitions. Of course, you
That's
got
fair.
Laurie Strode. Oh, sorry. Go on.
No, I was just saying that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. Laurie Strode in the Halloween franchise. I would consider her a final girl.
Yeah, totally.
Now, we haven't seen how Laurie Strode's kind of like story ends yet. Halloween Kills is a fucking disaster, by the way. It's just absolutely terrible.
Yeah, I've heard it's not great. I'm trying not to let it cloud me before I see it, but oof.
Really bad. Ellen Ripley, we already talked about her. Sue Snell in Carrie. Okay?
No, I wouldn't count that at all.
Neither would I.
She's not even there in the massacre in the gym. What did you survive? A walk home?
Yeah, what do you
Like,
yeah, that's true. What are you, drunk? Fucking
yeah.
Wikipedia? Ginny Field, Friday the 13th Part 2. That's interesting. That's interesting. Because
who is she in that?
so she's the one who, at the end of Friday the 13th Part 2, she comes
She's in
across
the boat?
the no. She comes across the kind of like tribute, the little shrine.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. That's interesting because I think that's Final Girl.
That's very Ripley to me. You know, using the
Right.
things around you to kind of like manipulate the situation in your favor. Like, yeah, that's cool.
Nancy Thompson, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Dream Warriors, Heather Langenkamp, absolutely. Sidney Prescott, Nev Campbell. Here's one that came up, and I don't think you've seen these movies, but I think they're pretty solid. The character's name is Tree Gelbman, and the movies were Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day to You. Pretty fucking clever, I think. Like, pretty clever movies, and a pretty solid final girl. Dana Polk, The Cabin in the Woods. Yeah, that's interesting.
Oh,
The Cabin in the
okay.
Woods.
That's
I say that.
well, yeah, because that one's got a final girl and guy. It's interesting.
Does she die though?
Both of
She
them
does.
do.
They
You're
do.
talking about
Because,
the Joss Whedon one, right?
Yeah, because the
Yeah.
fucking gods come out at the end, right? I mean, like,
right, yeah.
Right.
Which
Yeah,
is kind of
spoilers.
like, yeah, why don't you just shut the fuck up and die and like let everybody else live? It's like
Right.
it's like you're gonna die anyways. You just want to take like 7 billion people with you. Like, you psycho. Like, what the fuck is
Right.
wrong with you?
I love that movie. We got to cover that one day. That's such a good
Mhm.
movie.
Yeah.
There's a movie called Terrifier. Character's name is Victoria Hayes. Haven't seen that. American Horror Story 1984. Yeah, no, I'm good. Thank you. Hell Night. Never seen it either. Oh, Linda
Yeah.
Blair. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I mean, she's technically she's in 2 Exorcist movies. That second one is like a gum on the bottom of somebody's shoe. It's just tasteless. It's fucking so bad. But that first one, God, she's so good in it. It's almost worth it. You know, like, she's great in the first Exorcist. I love her in that.
I think, Final Girl. It's a tough. I mean, like, it's a tough list. I mean, like, when you got Nancy, but I think Sydney's right there. I think Sidney might, to be honest, be my favorite, just because there's 4. I think that because, you know, like, she's outsmarted him 4 times.
And it's
I
also
think
the only one that's no like paranormal bullshit. She's had to deal with just
Right.
like one person or sometimes multiple people, but they're people,
Right.
you know.
They're people. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's move on. We also meet Billy Loomis, right? I mean, obviously, Loomis, inspired by Halloween, played by the extra greasy Skeet Ulrich, right?
You know, he's like some kind of ferret. Like, he reminds me of like some kind of slick haired rodent. You know, he reminds me of the weasels in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. You know, they just have their slick back hair. It's like, like, there's something about him that
give me vagina.
Right. Like, he's extra, you know, you could like wring his hair out and shit. But there's something also like, how do you name is Skeet stage name? Is that a real?
It's gotta be. I'm gonna look it up.
But still, I mean, even that's even worse. Why would you choose that to be your fucking like? I get it? Maybe Skeet. It's like Ghostbusters. Like, busted makes me feel good. But like, was Bust a Nut a thing in 1984? You know,
dude. You want to hear his full name?
Yes. Yeah.
Brian Ray Trout.
Wow. Ray Trout kind of sticks out a little bit. Anyways, he's interesting in this, and I like once you get the pairing of him and Stu at the end, it definitely feels like the theater faces, the one that's always frowning and the one that's always laughing. And I was like, yeah, these guys really feel like two halves of a coin,
Yeah, I like Skeet in this movie, but like it's all Skeet. I can't take it seriously. Mr. Ulrich. But all he wants to do is fuck. That's all he wants to do, man. That's all he wants to do. But he's also like one of those like shitty Johnny Depps, like was it Logan Marshall Green, right? From what's it called, The Invitation?
Oh yeah. I love him though. He's so good in Upgrade. Yeah. He's like he's like the off-brand Tom Hardy, and I feel so bad for those guys. It's like Brian Johnson in the '80s having to follow Schwarzenegger. It's like there's so much shit you've lost because they probably got Schwarzenegger, or were like, this guy looks way too much like Schwarzenegger and couldn't get away from it. Like, damn, that's gotta suck.
Your agent just didn't get you into the right project at the right time, so you just fucking missed out on being a superstar first.
Right. Ugh.
Hey, did you ever watch Jericho? Show Jericho? No,
I know what you're talking about though.
Yeah, I remember watching it with Mr. Ulrich.
At least Skeeter, Skeeter is it's not Skeet. Great, but it's better than Skeet.
Yeah. I love the 90s though, right? Casting people in the mid-20s to play high school age students.
Oh yeah, this is great.
Right. She's got an underwear rule, and he's so keen to fuck, dude. Like, so keen, man. Like,
this guy just goes home. This guy just goes home and sits in his chair, and he's like, fuck it. He's just like hate fucking boner all night long. He's just slamming it. He's just slamming it into drawers like all the time. It's like, stop.
It just goes purple. He's got no socks left because they're all just fucking cummed.
Oh yeah, that makes me think of basketball when he was like, so what if a guy likes to go home and fuck the sleeve of his favorite jacket? And like that's definitely what Skeet Ulrich does.
I know in the story of this movie, his mum's like left, but like, she comes home one day and she's just like, Billy, where are all your fucking clothes?
We go through $900 worth of detergent a week. I can't do this anymore. She went to leave. So one day she ended up like inadvertently tasting it somehow. Like it's just everywhere. And she's like, oh, it's in my fucking yogurt.
There's a great joke in Bridesmaids. She's like, the other day I cracked a blanket in half.
Well, it's like, it makes me think of like his mom didn't run off. She was caught in some kind of terrible accident, like the soldier in The Mist who gets like have you ever seen The Mist? The Stephen King The Mist?
Yeah. I saw it ages ago, but I remember the twist and everything.
He like all the spider webs that burn his skin. She just walked into his jizz and just melted. And they're like, we'll just say she ran away and that she was a whore. Okay, sure.
Oh shit. People think he's being cast for the next fucking Spider-Man with all that fucking...
He just like comes out of it and like... But he just does it from hip to hip like firing.
Oh, shit.
His name is Skeet Ulrichman.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are rated E for explicit.
Yeah.
If you haven't noticed. Dude, here's something else. I like how they talk about classifications, right? I mean, like when I worked for Hoyt's, the cinema chain, we always used to get like our classifications and like put them on the posters and stuff and in the trailers, like what was R18, what was PG-13. We obviously don't have those here. Our PG-13 is M15 plus. But it's just a movie like announcing that it understands the landscape, that it really kind of knows what it's talking about. And I like that. I like that there's that level of comfort, right? I mean, like if you're, the everyday audience member doesn't know they're sitting down to watch a self-referential horror movie at this point. That's directed by Wes Craven. So, if I, for example, show this to my dad, he doesn't know any of that background knowledge. But when you start to introduce elements like, this is a PG-13 relationship, blah, 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 You're like, oh, okay. So they know what they're talking about, right? Like they know,
right?
It's you're in safe hands when they start mentioning all these movie references later. It's not just references made for the point of references. Like these characters know what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I knew people's moms who, like, if a boy had a girl in his room or vice versa, the mom would be like, hey, keep it PG in there. You know, like it felt like something but it felt believable enough that somebody had said it before, you know? Like it didn't feel like, you know, like some people don't know what are the parameters of a PG-13 or what makes an R rated an R rating. And I think it's actually
one tit and one fuck in PG-13.
I think it was Get Shorty. I can't remember, but it's John Travolta. And they're talking about making a movie. And he was like, you know, if you say the word fuck, or he's like, if you say the F word more than twice in a movie, it's rated R. And he just goes, fuck that. And it's the only time they say it for the whole movie. And it's like, yes, that's awesome. That's fucking awesome.
Oh, dude, I love picking out, like, I mean, like, well, no, like, because we know that, right? That they can only say fuck once, but, you know, like when you watch a movie like fucking First Class and, you know, Wolverine just like fuck off.
Yes.
And it's just like the best use of the F word, man.
It's like the one black ball they get. I love it.
So the media is crawling all over Woodsboro High School. We meet Tatum, played by Rose McGowan, right? I mean,
good Lord.
Yeah. She's like an Iowa 9, but like a LA 2.
Really? No, I've always thought she's really attractive. I mean, beyond the obvious, you know, her chesticles, obviously, they're fantastic. But there is something that's like, you kind of look like Michael Jackson with blonde hair, and it's fucked me up sometimes. And that's not fair to her. And that's not, I don't know, it's not 100% accurate, but once I saw it, I just couldn't. I was like, I can't unsee it. Like my brother put it to me this way. He was like, if somebody set you up on a blind date and you showed up and she was there, would you just leave? And I was like, no, I'd sit down. He was like, right. So she's attractive. And I was like, damn, that's smart. Like, damn, it's not like I need a test to know someone's attractive or not.
But you know, if we are in that situation and she invites me back to her trailer,
you don't know, like you get into bed with her and you're like, there's probably an open syringe in here somewhere I'm gonna get stabbed with. You wouldn't sit, you would hover over her toilet, like you wouldn't touch any doorknobs or anything.
Like you need to, like, you know, you're taking a shit and you hit the flush, but it doesn't flush because the shit is full, like that whole kind of thing. That's the situation.
It's like this chick has definitely seen the back of like an 86 Dodge at some point, you know. Like, I don't even know if that's a real car, but that's when. Was she dating the guy that sucked his own dick at this point, Marilyn Manson? Was that Manson? I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure, like, they dated for sure, right? But I don't know if it was back then.
I think that's an urban legend, like the Richard Gere gerbil thing. I don't know. But I think it
reference in this movie.
Yeah. I think it might be an urban legend. I don't know.
Okay. All right. But yeah, Tatum fills Sidney in on Casey Becker, right? And they're interrogating the entire school. This is our first nod to something else happening, right? There's some history here. Tatum says that this is the worst crime since, well, it's bad, she says. Right? I mean, like, so we know that there's something more here.
This is great. They do this a couple times. Very well done. I love that.
It's like, oh shit, okay, because it makes you lean in, right? Like it makes you be like, oh fuck, okay.
It's the fish seeing the worm on the hook on the surface and be like, what's that? Totally. That's the first thing it makes me think of. It's like, hello, how are you?
Mm-hmm. And hey, the Fonz is the principal.
Oh, Jesus Christ. He's a little, I don't know. This is I don't know. Part of me went like, are you her godfather? Like, like he's a little too, and I get it. As someone who's the partner of a educator, this guy's a great educator. He seems like a nice guy, you know, and he's like, hey, I'm your principal. I love all you guys. I want all of you to be safe. Hey, somebody just died. We're fucking canceling school. And it's like, wow, this guy literally
says, remember your principal loves you. And it's like, what?
It's like, Jesus Christ. But that's why I think the turn when he gets those scissors and he's like, we got you, like the merciless little fucking, and it's like, oh shit. Okay. This guy's got kitty got claws, you know, like this is crazy. So I think it's a little goofy, but the fact that we get it right here. She was the daughter of,
Maureen.
Well, you know, And he just kind of trails off, and it's like, oh, that's so good, man. The implied seriousness of it is so palpable.
By the way, when we're at this scene here, by the way, I don't know how we haven't talked about it yet. Scary Movie ruined this movie for me forever. Yeah. Whenever there's a reference in this movie that Scary Movie also used as well, like this moment here when, like, you know, before she comes in and the Fonz is talking to the cops and he's like, that's the daughter of you know, and then like in Scary Movie they're just like, yeah, that's the daughter of you know, she's they're doing like sex moves and shit. It's just so good, dude. Yeah. That's Deputy Riley today, Sid.
Oh God, fucking Dewey.
Can we talk about it for a sec? Let's talk about it for a sec.
Yeah, I apparently was not supposed to survive this film. I haven't seen anything beyond the first one, but I don't know. It's almost funny now how he's still alive, because I think he also gets fucked up in the second one too. I think he gets stabbed in the second one and then he still survives. It's like, holy shit. The fact that he's still kicking at this point, I feel like they're just going to keep him around to, like, he's always, I don't know. It's like it's something that has to happen in order for it to be a Scream movie. Like, Dewey has to get stabbed and show his tiny little shit teeth when he's like, and like, and he gets stabbed, and that little thin ass mustache. It's like, who are you, Errol Flynn? You look like a child. You look like a fucking pedo. Like, shave your fucking mustache, dude.
It's wild, dude. I mean, I cannot tell you when I first watched this movie how much I hated Dewey and how much I hate him right now. So I reached out in the after party and asked listeners, hey man, why is Dewey the worst? And Danielle Cutto responded. I like Danielle's response because, you know, she says, I love Dewey and his theme in the movie is some of my favorite movie scoring of all time. You know, it comes into it a bit more in the second one and third ones. It's like a guitar. It's like but you know, I kind of pushed Danielle a little bit. I was like, God damn it, why do you love Dewey? And then she's like, I'm going to read this now. So thank you so much, Danielle, for commenting. She says, he's kind and he cares about the people in his life. He's a dweeb, yes, but an endearing one. And his speech to Gale in Scream 2, and in parentheses, this is the speech. How do you know that my dim-witted inexperience isn't merely a subtle form of manipulation just to lower people's expectations, thereby enhancing my ability to effectively maneuver within any given situation? Is outstanding. Now, when Steph and I watched Scream 2, I really enjoyed that. I was like, oh, fuck. Is this like some kind of like subversive character thing?
Is this the foot switch and Usual Suspects, you know?
Right. Or is that Kevin Williamson just fixing up criticism too?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Danielle continues off, and there's a part of me, that finds the fact that he and Courtney Cox were falling in love during this movie. And then she says, you can legit see the hearts in their eyes. Endearing, and that adds to it as well. So
I love their scenes together. I like when they share the screen. I just don't know how much his character really brings, because let's be honest, I think one of the reasons why Dewey gets a lot of flack, it's because he is the comedic relief in this movie. Like, I feel like the same reason people like, I don't think it's a mistake or it's a coincidence that a lot of the people that don't like Dewey probably don't like Randy either. And it's like, no, because this is a movie that puts that comedic shit onto them as characters, and they have to be kind of like the dorky, kind of smarmy, like you said, like Danielle said, the dweebs. And I think that what's the worst thing that Dewey really does in this movie? Does he ruin the movie for me? It's like, no, I think he's just kind of comedic relief that maybe it's the performance of David Arquette. Maybe there's just something in his face. I think it's the same thing. Honestly, I think it's the same thing with, what's his name? Jamie Alexander. What's his fucking name that plays Randy?
Jamie. Fuck. I'm blanking right now, but Jamie
Kennedy.
Jamie Kennedy.
Yeah, I can't fucking stand the guy. And I think that that's part of the reason why I want to like Randy, but I can't at the same time. Because if they had gotten somebody else, I probably would have really enjoyed it, but I fucking can't stand Jamie Kennedy. So I think that there's something in their performance, and I think that there's something in the character that relies on keeping up the comedic humor or the comedic relief that comedic humor. Oh yeah, it's the the comedic humor. Did you hear that? Oh yeah, that's like the hot fire. Yeah. That wet water everybody's been talking about.
It's like the cold snow. Yeah.
So I don't think they get a fair shake, but I don't think they add anything, but I don't think they really take anything away either.
I like Randy purely because he gets better in the sequels. Well, for the ones that he's in, but
I was gonna say he's only in one, right?
Yeah, well, he's in 4.
What?
3. He's in 3.
I thought he gets killed in 2.
Yeah, he's in 3 as well.
How? Didn't he die in 2?
Videotape.
Oh, so he comes back in something pre. Oh, okay, never mind then.
Yeah. I don't want to.
Whatever.
Yeah. But anyway, so
don't ruin a movie from fucking 1998 for me, Jesus.
We meet the rest of Sidney's friends. They talk about Basic Instinct. Lillard says, "You take a knife and you slit him from."
Hold on.
What?
I like how you were like, wait a minute. Yeah, Bryan Cranston, he just fucking dies in Godzilla. That movie's 6 years old, and I bring up Scary Movie 3, and you go, guys, let's not ruin anything for anybody.
It's pertinent to what we're talking about, right? Like if someone's listening to this, and they're interested in the franchise, they're going to go out and seek the fucking other movies.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Fucking asshole.
That just hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, oh my God. No, I get it.
Anyway. Lillard says, you take the knife and you slit him from groin to sternum. Now, if you watch this scene closely, Loomis.
Sorry, dude. I'm not trying to sternum.
Can you fuck off and let me host?
You said going. It just made me laugh. Sorry, Loomis, what?
If you watch Loomis in this scene, he's watching Lillard really closely.
Yeah,
really closely. Because he's like, "Fuck, is he about to let this slip?"
Yeah. Well, there's a great thing where he was like, nobody said you did it, and it's like, he puts a little emphasis on the you, and it's like, oh, you little bastard.
Right. We find out Stu used to date Casey. There's a lot of great exposition here, given in just kind of like a natural way. Like this is, they're giving away information like pretty naturally, I think. It doesn't feel like they're talking to the audience,
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, it's kind of like a little round table discussion. It seems believable,
Yeah. By the way, the longing look on Billy's face after he says, after Stu responds, "Thanks, buddy," to nobody says you did. It says it all. It's so great because it's so obvious on a second watch. There's oh, okay, what is these guys? If you watch it, and I was trying to watch it because Steph didn't remember who the killers were in this movie when I first saw it. When we watched it the other day. And I'm fucking doing the side eye to her. I'm like, fuck, did she pick that up? Because they hold on Billy's face for so fucking long, dude. It's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah, very subtle. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Sidney talks on Tatum. Sidney talks to Tatum on the phone. They talk about how this feels like deja vu all over again. And Sidney flicks through the TV news reports and sees Gail bringing up Sidney's mother, Maureen's murder last year. And this obviously has a traumatic effect on her. Yeah, I mean... Yeah,
I think this is when Neve Campbell really shines, because she's saying a lot without saying anything at all, and not to mention that this fight that's coming up, she's actually, I think that it was Wes Craven's daughter. I think this was in the movies that made us that she was like, Dad, whatever you do, just don't make her fucking fall down. And he was like, what do you mean? She's like, in all these movies, they always just fall down for some reason. And then after that, Wes Craven never made a final girl fall ever again. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
That's cool.
And in fact, in this one, she's getting fucking BJJ leg sweeps and shit. And I was like, nice, dude.
Yeah.
It's not that I watch it.
This motherfucker.
Right. Yeah. It's like some Khabib Nurmagomedov shit. But it's not that I'm surprised because she's a woman. It's because in these movies, you're always looking at the person getting attacked and going, fucking like swing on him, like do something. So to see them act at all in any way is like, thank you, God. Mm-hmm. Like finally, like somebody actually threw a punch or something. Somebody's actually defending themselves.
For me, it's not Sidney. I mean, yes, obviously it's Sidney, but then for me, the big moment is Tatum before she dies when she's throwing the beer bottles at fucking Ghostface, dude. I'm just like, God damn it. She's fucking kicking his ass.
It's like Beverly Marsh and It. She's just like ping, 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 ping. Just like keeps hitting him.
It's awesome. That night, Sidney receives a call from Ghostface, who she thinks is Randy initially, right? I mean, like, and yes, obviously you would, because Randy's always talking about movies and here's Ghostface talking about, what's your favorite scary movie? So, yeah, I guess you would make that connection pretty naturally. She doesn't watch scary movies. Oh, man. And this is the moment when I fell in love with this movie. This line, she says, "What's the point? They're all some stupid killer stalking some big-breasted girl who can't act, who's always running up the stairs when she should be going out the door. It's insulting." And that's when I fell in love with the movie, dude. Like, I'm like, oh, okay. All right, cool. That's what we're watching. Mm-hmm. That's this movie.
And she ends up doing the exact opposite. She tries to go out the front door and it's locked, and she goes up the stairs. It's like, but the thing I love is when, because I don't want to jump too far ahead, but just the detail in this fight that I do love is not only the leg sweep, but getting upstairs and doubling the door into the handle. It's like, that is fucking awesome, dude. I love that. I love seeing clever people do clever stuff. And Neve Campbell, like I saw a great meme that was like, God, somebody better get Sidney Prescott something for all this neck pain she's had. And it's always her rubbing her neck. And I didn't notice that until somebody pointed it out. But there is something where Neve Campbell's eyes can just like turn into waterworks in a fucking second. And it is so well done. And I like her in this first movie, but God, I love her in The Craft. She is so fucking confident and just like explosive in that. I really, really enjoy her in The Craft. That's a fantastic movie. I almost covered that for Midnight Spooky Feature. I almost did that. And I was like, nah, I'll hold on to Craft.
The credits rolled on Scream, right? And we rolled right into Wild Things, baby. We rolled right into that fucking movie, dude.
You watched it with Steph?
Hey?
You watched it with Steph?
Yeah, she loved it. She fucking loved it.
By the end of it, she's like, I think
she's more of a fucking horn dog than I am. What are you talking about?
Dude, I have seen the same 2 minutes of that movie 197 times.
That movie fucking holds up, man. I'm sorry. I love the fucking screenplay for that movie. It's so goofy.
Really?
Yeah, it's fucking goofy, but man, I like it. I like it.
I love Neve Campbell. I think Neve Campbell has a very unique and original talent and also a face. She's very different looking from a lot of her contemporaries. And not to say her looks are, all that important, but I think that there's something in her acting that's just very different.
I love the sound Denise Richards acting.
Oh, jeez. Well, Denise, it's like that has always been ever since I was like first had any kind of sexual inkling was just like, oh, Denise Richards is hot as fuck.
Yeah.
I've maintained that for like 20 years now. Oh my God, that woman is a knockout.
She looks like a mannequin right now, though. Have you seen it right now?
Well, being married to Charlie Sheen will do that to you. I don't. Whatever she looks like, it's probably better than what the other side of Charlie Sheen. Good Lord, she's lucky. She's fucking alive, being married to that dude.
That's true. Winning.
Yeah. Are you bipolar? I'm by winning.
One of the things that I really liked here, though, is that Ghostface actually kind of goes in for the kill at one point here, right? He's got it like pinned down at the door, and he goes to bring the knife down. And now watching it in hindsight, that must be done just to mislead us and Sidney, surely. Right? I mean, like, they don't want her to die.
This doesn't make any sense, Right. So yeah, it's probably one of those things. The principal is only killed off because I think it was Bob Weinstein who was like, "Yeah, you don't have any kills. It's been like 30 something pages." So this feels like it might be
that, and also they needed to get the party goers out of the house. That was the only way they could do it.
Yeah, that as well, and I think that I don't know. Part of me goes, it doesn't really make sense with their plan. but you need something to put the crosshairs on Sid, because now that they're off of Casey, I guess it's Casey, right?
Casey,
Drew Barrymore. Yeah. Now that we've taken it off of there, we're kind of getting the inkling, hey, we're really focusing on Sidney a lot, but let's do something that's going to be like, no, like you're in the kill zone right now. And I do like that, but it does seem kind of, I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense with if this is their plan, you know?
No, totally. And then she uses this weird AOL/white woman in trouble system to call the cops.
Yeah. It's a little strange.
I guess it's for deaf people, but why does she have it?
I don't know. And I wondered that because it's like I had AOL Instant Messenger as a middle schooler, and I don't think I could have. I mean, maybe I could have dialed 911, but it's like
typed 911.
I'm going to download me a fucking. It's like Always and Sunny. He's like, hey, go download me a hoagie off the internet. Fucking Danny DeVito. Yeah, it's like all I can think of is like, yeah, let me download one of those sandwiches. This seemed like a stretch even for 96. You know, the cell phone. The cell phone is a stretch even for now. So it's like having this I don't know, this AOL instant message relationship with somebody at 911 is like, I don't know about that.
Dial up modem.
If she'd have gone and grabbed a flare gun and shot the flare gun into the sky and it exploded with like, help me, my name is Sidney Prescott, I'm at 624 Elm Street. Like, I would believe that, you know, more than so.
She lives in Elm Street?
Apparently there like in the I was reading or I watched something where it's in the shot, but they had to cut it due to pacing or something. But she technically, she lives on like Elm Street or something like that. Or 911 is located on Elm Street or something like that.
And who comes stumbling through the window but Billy fucking Loomis, who we see owns one of those truly rare and expensive devices known as cell phones. I love the way it falls and like
this guy can't afford a bar of Irish Spring. He's not buying a fucking cell phone.
No, but it's a great mislead, right? I mean, like it's a great like. I just love how early they do this, right? I mean, like it can't be him, right? I mean, like he gets hauled off to jail here, and then like he gets questioned by the police, and then exonerated, and like all in like 15 minutes, and it's just like, oh fuck, all right, so it wasn't him. Who the fuck was it? So Dewey's standing at the door with the ghost face mask. Oh man, it's fucking, I can't. Okay, no, look, it's not Arquette's face. It's just moments like this. He's standing like right there at the door up to his face, and him doing that like fucking goofy ass yell. No, it's in the script that he's a fucking moron, and I wonder if it's because in movies like this, usually the cops are the good guys, and they're always the protagonists, and they're always the ones to kill the bad guy and like help him out in a big significant way. And I really wonder if it's, you know, Kevin Williams' attempt to turn that on its head.
Yeah, it definitely seems a little anti-authoritarian as well, you know, because the cops are pretty ineffective in this movie. I think that a lot of it does fall on Arquette because the shot just doesn't make a whole lot of sense of him holding the mask up and being like, "Ugh!" And it's like, dude, I think you're trying to end this scene on like a laugh, and you're trying to end it on some kind of punch, whether a laugh or a scare or something, and you just kind of. And like, nah, this doesn't work for. It's a small nitpick, but it's like I think he does the best with what they were trying to end this scene on. To be honest,
God is the fucking.
Yeah.
Billy's hauled off by the cops as Gail tries to cajole Tatum for more information. And I love Gail going off at Kenny. I know that you're about 50 pounds overweight, but when I say move it, please interpret that as your fat double-lard ass right now.
He just picks the camera up and hits her in the back with it. He's like fucking 60 pounds.
Call me a fat double-lard. Get fucked, you little bitch.
Yeah.
Billy stares intently at Sidney in the police station. Dude, you see these like fucking glaring eyes he gives her? He's just like,
yeah. He's got this look like he's just in the back of his head, like meow 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 meow. Like I don't know. There's something so he does say
if he wasn't a serial killer before, he is one now.
Right, yeah. Well, there's something about the way he looks that he does kind of, if looks could kill kind of thing. But every time I see one of those looks from his face is so stupid. All I can think of is something funny in the back of my head. Like Jim Gaffigan's like, sometimes I look real thoughtful and really I'm in my head going, did I eat at Wendy's twice yesterday? And it's like all I can fucking think of when I look at Billy.
I just think of like the Simpsons movie, right? I mean, like when Marge is telling Homer to do something, and in his head is just that like monkey playing the cymbals.
Yeah. I don't really love Skeet Ulrich in this. He's okay, but I think that he's kind of one note the whole time. You know, he doesn't really Skeet Ulrich.
Oh, Skeet Ulrich, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's just kind of, he doesn't really show a lot of emotion. He just, Matthew Lillard, say what you will, but, even he kind of criticizes his own performance.
I love
I do too. It's a little over the top. And even Matthew Lillard is like, yeah, that's a little bit much. But Skeet Ulrich is just kind of this, and he's the same way in The Crowd. He's just, I don't know. He strikes me as just this, he's on this one wave and he just rides that whole wave the whole movie. It's like I could take him or leave him, Even Johnny Depp has got some smiling funny moments in Nightmare on Elm Street. At least he's got something there. This Skeet Ulrich, like, you don't really seem like a real person to me.
Well, that's what happens when you're sexually repressed. You only get one emotion, and that's murder face.
This guy doesn't have blue balls. This guy has like black balls. This guy is like fucking dying over here.
He's just got no testicles at all anymore. It's just sack. It's just like smooth sack. Like,
or they've swollen. It's just one big testicle. They've just swollen. Just like one big testicle.
They've merged together to join like one giant fucking
We are the Uniball. It's like just this one like throbbing swollen testicle.
Every time he talks, it throbs. Oh, fuck, man.
Well, it's like Scary Movie, too, when fucking Hannah Faris is sitting there jacking that guy off, and he just like, and he comes everywhere. Like, that's Bill. They actually cut the scene out after they have sex, where they walk in and with a mop and bucket and just start peeling it off the ceiling. It was a good decision narratively.
That's why Scary Movie just fucking nailed that sex scene, dude, because like it happens in that movie, and he turns into a husk.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Where are we at? Okay, so, yes, Billy's hauled off by the cops. We already know this. Oh, dude. Hey, quick question. You want to know how we know that Sidney's gone through some traumatic shit? Because she's draped in a police jacket. That's how we know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. It was either a gray blanket with a white styrofoam cup, or if you're... Yeah, especially you got the cop jacket.
One of two choices. Yeah, absolutely. Dude, the chief's question to Billy just made me laugh. What are you doing with a cellular telephone, son?
They try to, this was, but at the same time, cell phones were not that crazy. My dad had an old cell phone in like 95. Like he had a car phone or something, So it's not, I watch old episodes of Frasier and it's like 92, 93 and they're using car phones.
But how old was your dad at that time? I mean, like a teenager having a phone.
Oh, no. Yeah. He would have been 45,
Right. A high school student having a phone at this time, I think would have been weird. I think.
Yeah. Possibly.
But there's actually some pretty clever stuff here because the chief asked Billy about last night when Billy visited Sidney through the window. But this actually gives Billy a great alibi for the Casey Becker murder, right? I mean, like, he's creating, we see him creating his own alibi. After he kills Casey Becker, he goes to visit Sidney. So therefore, the chances of him going to Casey's place to kill her is lower,
Right. Well, because his dad even goes, wait, you went out last night? And it's like, yeah, that's interesting. We know it's not Stu because he was with Titties O'Neill. Tatum. There we go. Tatum? Is that right?
Yeah. You mean the woman whose nipples could cut diamonds?
Oh, Jesus Christ, dude. It's like... I guess now it's like legendary, but it was like, okay, this is fucking gratuitous, dude. This is somebody's coming up and just putting an ice pack on her neck right before they start shooting. It's like, come on, dude.
Pause takes and then just like, Wes Craven's like, get that fucking ice pack on that woman's tits now.
They like force her into a freezer for like 10 minutes before she shoots with like cattle prods. Like, get in there. You get those tits hard, you don't come out.
She's like a fucking steer.
Yeah. It's like, get back. She's like hissing. Hissing at him. Listen, we got Marilyn Manson out here. We're going to take a peekie off for every time you say no. So stupid. Oh
my God. All right. What did Mom tell you? When I wear this badge, you treat me like the man of the law.
You idiot. Saying that in front of all of, like, come on,
in front of everyone, dude. Oh my God. Sidney smacks Gale one. This was awesome. I really like this.
Like it. Yeah.
Like it a lot. Sidney spends the night at Tatum's, and this is when Ghostface calls, meaning that it can't be Billy, right? I mean,
bum.
Right. You know, as an audience member, you know that you haven't, you know, you still have half of a movie to go, but this is great. You know, this is really, really awesome mislead. I love this. But I also, again, this is ruined for me by Scary Movie that really aped the shit out of this scene when Dewey comes out with a vacuum.
Yeah. Hello?
But that's exactly what Dewey does. He comes out with his gun, picks up the receiver, and says hello.
Are you still there? It's like a dial tone. Dude, what's cool is a woman that plays Tatum's mom. That's Lorraine's mom from Back to the Future. She's Kevin Bacon's mom in Footloose. Awesome. She's the mom. I'm pretty sure that she's the mom in Gremlins as well. She's the mom in everything. But she's great, even though she's only in here for like a scene. It's like Mary Ellen Trainor. She's the psychologist in Lethal Weapon, the one where she tries to follow that dude into the bathroom. Yeah. She's in Goonies. She's in Monster Squad. She's all over the place. I love those character moms in 80s movies, you know.
There is something I really like about this scene. I love like dynamic scenes like this when, you know, there's something happening in the foreground. Like, you know, there's something we're really supposed to pay attention to. Like Sidney's on the phone to Ghostface. It's super intense. But then you just see the mom go like in the background and just knock on like Dewey's door and like get Dewey. Like I love that that's all in one shot. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like it's not a cutaway to the mom like knocking on the door or anything like that. It's all it just feels really dynamic, you know, and really makes you like pay attention. It's good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Liev Schreiber cameo right after that.
Yes, Cotton Weary. How do
you pronounce that? Liev Schreiber or Schreiber?
Yeah,
Schreiber. Okay, I love him, dude. He is so good.
He's awesome. Great voice. He plays the Kingpin in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So good.
Nice. We talked about him. Was it Spotlight? I think that's the last time we talked about him.
Yeah.
He's great, man.
Fucking love that movie. Dude, before that happens though, one thing that I really thought was made up for Scary Movie, they're talking about Billy Loomis, and Tatum says he was destined to have a flaw. I knew he was too perfect. What? What? I really thought that was made up for Scary Movie because in that movie, Shannon Elizabeth's playing Tatum, well, the Tatum character. And she's like, I knew he was too perfect. You know, like she's like, I slept with him a couple times or something like that. He was so good in bed. And I'm just like, I just thought they made like that thing up for Scary Movie because they never follow it up. Like they never.
Like in this one, they never really show what about Billy.
Well, yeah. Like why is Tatum
what's so great about Billy? You know?
Yeah. Why is he?
That is kind of interesting. You know, like because I don't know. There's nothing. I guess because he's not pressuring her about like the sex stuff, and he's just I don't know, you know. But there's not really a whole lot of dynamic.
She does this look. She does this look where she like looks up and she like looks like she's dreaming about him. Like, you know, she's like, I knew it was too perfect, and I'm like, okay, it's interesting.
Yeah. She goes behind her back. She's like, listen, I know she won't fuck you. She's like, I'll fuck you. And then he goes back to Stu and he's like, we have to kill them both. I fucked one of them and I'm gonna fuck the other one. So now we gotta kill them both.
They gotta go.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Cave in the Bad Seeds, right? Red Right Hand. Good stuff.
Red Right Hand. Two things: Dumb and Dumber, because it's in Dumb and Dumber. You know, that's like the first thing I probably ever heard that song in. And Hellboy. It's all I can think of. So literal now. You know, the Red Right Hand. I'm like, it's in the first movie. I think it's a great choice.
Well, this is the first thing I think of, Scream. Like it's in this one, it's in the second one. I believe it's in the third one as well.
So unique. Very unique song.
Totally. We already talked about Cotton Weary. Billy's release, right? Turns out his cell phone bill was clean. And Sidney confronts Gail again. They talk about the book. Gail thinks Cotton Weary is innocent, but Sidney is certain that Cotton raped her mother and killed her. Her blood was all over the coat. And Weathers believes that the coat was planted in Cotton's car, which framed him. But I love Weathers challenging Sidney here. Like, Sidney's not so sure anymore. She's shaken. Gail is sure the murders are related. She wants proof to save a man's life. But also, Kenny, do you know what that could do for my book sales?
Yeah. Well, I like the fact that the killer has said something specifically that is clouding her judgment. Yes. And he's like, your mom didn't want to die either. Like, but basically insinuating that because he does say something that would insinuate that he is the one that killed her mom, and that's probably not true. This is probably just something said to get under her skin. But at the same time, it's only been a year. It's not like this was 10 years ago. It's only been a year. So I think this person could definitely still be out there. And the fact that, but I don't know, the way that they play this, it makes me feel like this is something that happened when Sidney was like a kid, when she was like a little kid and she couldn't really tell what was going on, blah, blah, blah. But then they're like, oh, it's only been a year. I was like, oh shit. Yeah. Fuck. I forgot about that. Right.
She's like, there was my mother's blood on the coat, and I saw him wearing the coat when he left. And
yeah. Do they, because I don't know, because, the thing is, obviously, we find out at the end of this, but that Cotton is innocent. Do they get into her having any kind of guilt over misidentifying him in the other movies?
Yes,
does she ever come to? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. I hope that they would. I just couldn't remember,
Yeah. No, they do. But also, just something that I left out of my, kind of initial opening kind of monologue. The casting of Courtney Cox at this time was massive. She was well known for Friends, but she lobbied for this role. She really wanted to take a role that would kind of offset her friendly kind of Friends character. So she really wanted to play a bitch, is essentially what she said. And
it's a good idea.
She had to lobby for it, and the executives didn't want her because she wasn't known for these kinds of roles, and she really, really had to work and push for this role. And yeah, I think she does a great job, to be honest, playing the bitch.
Yeah, she's probably one of the best performances in the movie. I like her a lot.
Totally. So, dude, the utter disregard for just how insensitive the students are of the murders is kind of funny, right? You get this dude running down the halls in the Ghostface costume. It's just so. Would this happen? I mean, in an American school, I don't think so.
Pre-Columbine and 9/11, yeah.
Yeah, you reckon? Okay.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Especially in the South. They don't give a fuck.
Fucking little miscreants.
That's why these movies are never set in the South, because, they last 22 minutes long and this guy gets shot 9 times with a fucking 45. And then that's it,
Billy runs into Sidney, says that it couldn't have been him because he was in jail, and he tells Sidney to get over his mother's death. Right?
Yeah, her mother's death?
Her mother's death. The power of the boner. The power of the boner.
Drunk. No, that part is laugh out loud hysterical. When a parent dies to tell somebody
only a year ago.
Yeah, only a year ago. It's like your mom was brutally raped and murdered. Her last moments ever in this life were fucking of anguish and torment, and she was just wanting to be put out of her misery. And then somebody did it, and then they're like, yeah, but you should fucking get over that, though. Right. It's been 364 days. Right. Please get over it. It's like, that's outrageous.
It's kind of a pretty telling indicator that he might be the killer, because, he was the one that did it. So, for him, it's just another act, and for him, it was just so long ago. It's really kind of telling, because he's so insensitive to it. I actually really like it. But he's so far removed from her remorse that he's just you should maybe just get over it. I really dig it. We get this scene with Principal Himbry and the 2 students running around in the ghost face masks. By the way, dude, I read that Himbry, aka the Fonz, is actually wielding the mythological sword known as Excalibur in this scene, because the sound effects of this scissors. Dude.
Oh, dude. Oh, dude. It's fucking shing, 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 shing. It's like, Jesus Christ,
Did I put on the Last Night or some shit, dude? Like, what the fuck is
it's
this?
like fucking Edward Scissorhands when he's chopped. Right. It's like, Jesus Christ, man. I get it. It's a big pair of scissors, but it's like this guy has like the hedge clippers you're chopping, like the little two-ply. Jesus Christ, man.
But yeah, we get another attempt at misleading the audience, right? Potentially bringing in a new suspect in the principal, because
man, there's almost too many of these. Like, there's the principal. At one point, there's the shot of the sheriff putting the cigarette out, and it's like, okay, like, even I've read some people kind of interpreted Dewey picking up the phone, because when he picks up the phone, he does kind of like, hello, like he kind of. I don't know. He gets a little weird at the end. I was like, I think that's a bit of a stretch. But I do think that there's right. But I do think that there's almost too many red herrings with stuff. Like even with Tatum, she was like, or a woman in a man's mindset. It's like, okay, so now you're making the case that it could be you, and so and blah blah blah. And just as we give somebody a reason saying, well, it could have been you. You were here. Then they kind of automatically get. It's like you put them at the bottom of the list of possibles, when in reality they're probably much higher than you think. Same thing with Lillard when they're talking about who killed Casey, and he's like, oh, well, he was with me all night. It's like, okay, well, now I know it's not you, but it definitely was him to an extent. It was Slick Skeet Ulrich, but it was actually him, and Matthew Lillard, like, as a pair.
I'm okay with there being many suspects. I mean, like, if that's the premise, if that's what's on the box, like that's what's bringing you in, it's kind of like a big kind of mystery. I'm all right with it. Like, have you haven't seen Knives Out yet, have you?
Yeah, I saw it in theaters.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, like, Knives Out does the same thing. It's a movie version of Clue, basically. Well, you've got Clue, the movie as well, but like, I mean, you're introducing like all these like red herrings, and I don't know. I really appreciate the like I don't know, it adds to the rewatchability for me, that like the extra
that works for me in something like Clue or Knives Out, because they're almost funny, they're quirky murder mystery, like mansion murder mysteries. But with this, I feel like it was so many suspects that for it to still come back on to somebody who was that close in the inner circle was kind of like, okay, I guess you just did red herrings just to have red herrings, and that's fine. That's what red herrings are. Like, they're there to divert you from what's really happening. But I just felt like at one point it's like, it's her dad, it's Dewey, it's Gail Weathers, it's, Tatum, it's the sheriff. It's like, dude, there's a lot of fucking people, even just outside of our main characters, that it could be. Right. So I don't know. For me, it was a little bit too much, but I get it, because there is something about that it gives you more things to appreciate in multiple rewatches.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. So Sidney's in the bathroom overhearing other students talk about Sidney's traumatic past, and you already mentioned it, dude. The dialogue here is, I mean, like, Williamson takes this dialogue, and it's tough for, I guess, a older male writer to kind of like, think about like how a school aged female would talk, but also this is what this movie is. It's a commentary on these kinds of movies, and like, it's tough because this scene in particular really stands out dialogue wise. And this scene, I think, for just how great this movie is, I think this is the weakest moment in this scene, because it just feels so out of place. It feels very preachy, I think, in my opinion, but
yeah. Well, and it even feels like it's not being edgy just to be edgy, but it's like, man, you're really trying to like push something here. Like you're really trying to push the limits.
You're trying to hammer home the point. Yeah. But she's attacked here, right? And dude, there's something about that shot of the boot hitting the floor that I love. Like, there's something really cool about that. But like, I imagine that she's attacked here just to shift attention away from Billy Loomis. I think that's my opinion, because like, also, I mean, this comes back to why she was attacked in the first place. They're not wanting to kill her, right? I mean, That's not,
right.
That's not what they're doing.
Right. Apparently that's not what they're doing. I don't know. Fucking Stu and Billy could have come up with this plan this morning, and are just now saying, oh, you know what we should do. But I think that there's something interesting about attacking at school. I don't know. Maybe it's a benefit to get her away from people in large numbers to make her feel even more. Yeah. But the movie just kind of ends right after this, not right after this, but it's this night the movie ends.
Right.
So I don't know. I can take or leave them attacking at school because it's like, what were you going to do? Brutally stab somebody in broad daylight and get away with it? Like, I don't think so. If anything, this is just kind of put her defenses up even more. So I don't know. I don't love it, but I don't hate it either. Yeah, it's okay. It because we don't really get another.
I mean, she just runs away and leaves him in the bathroom.
Yeah, right. Like if he'd actually gotten a swing and like slashed her and be like, okay, now I'm really I'm not dead. Like I'm not, even really, I guess, critically injured, but like I'm actually the stakes were escalating.
Yeah. Gail's putting the moves on Dewey. Dewey says he's 25 years old, which kind of made me laugh. I'm just like, what? Fun.
She's like, listen, I'm not Chris Hansen. You don't have to lie about your age.
Can we,
no, you're not. I knew I shouldn't have even said it because I knew you were going to fucking try to get it.
Principal's announcement. He says there's a citywide curfew from 9 p.m. tonight. Again, another great way to give us some more exposition, right? To introduce a new element to us. Citywide curfew, 9 p.m. We also find out that Sidney's father is missing, right? And
yeah.
Actually, there's a moment here that I really like from Dewey. If I may say so, Miss Weathers, you are much prettier in person. I like the delivery of that. And again, I think we both agree. Both of their scenes together are really great. I like that.
Yeah, they're very, very charming together. And like he was like, what did he say? He's like, he's like, I've been 24 for a whole year, and then he walks up the steps. Right. Like, yes, I love that. That's great.
Good stuff.
So you say here in your chat, you can call me Deputy Dewey. What about that seems appropriate to say that to a 12-year-old boy? Well, geez, he just got that thin little mustache.
He's just sweating.
Yeah. If you want to leave, there's the door. It's right there.
You have to go through that door over there.
He's on Your Mom's House podcast recently. Tom Segura. Yeah.
Excuse me?
Oh, no. Tom Segura and his wife, I can't pronounce her last name. They call her Christina P. Pazinski, I think. But they do a podcast called Your Mom's House, and he was on it. And he's like, seeing people come in that you never would have thought they would be a child molester. And it's like, God, I love the way he talks. It's so enticing.
Yeah. But also, this movie was nominated for Best Screenplay because right here is where Stu drops a great line. Kizzle, cause skizzle is out, is what he says.
What? Okay, yeah, I didn't quite catch it. What is it? Because school is out? Is that what he says?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What is this, Pig Latin?
This is rough. This is that Lillard sauce. I guarantee you that was not scripted, dude. This is that Lillard, let's take off the wrench open the sauce and just put a swath of sauce on this scripted.
Well, I love the fact that even Matthew Lillard is like, I might have gone a little overboard. And it's like, cool, but that makes me even appreciate your performance that much more. If Matthew Lillard were like, no, I still think it's great. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I'd be like, I think you need a reality check, Shaggy. But no, I actually I think the internet rallies behind Matthew Lillard like they do Brendan Fraser, apparently. Is how you say it's not fucking name.
It's the same category as Keanu to a point, right?
Yeah. Good guy, Mr. Hollywood kind of thing,
right. Yeah. Also, this movie was not nominated for Best Screenplay. I was just trying to be funny.
I figure.
It didn't really work. That's okay. It's fine. It's, you can't have them all. You can't have them all, They don't always work out, but yeah. I'm not the funny one on the podcast, so it's okay. It's fine. It's all good. I can't do Chris Hansen impressions. Okay.
But I've been working on mine subtly because he's got this thing that he ends on an upward inflection sometimes when he talks. It's very weird. Very weird.
Yeah. He's got this clipboard and everything. Yeah, totally. So we know that there's going to be an impromptu party at Stu's tonight, right? And that sets up this giant third act. This is huge.
A third act. This is half the fucking movie.
Yeah.
Dude, that is like one of my biggest problems with this movie is your
hours.
You don't
like that? I love that, dude. I love that this takes place in one night. Oh.
I don't mind it, but it's like an hour and 51 minutes long, and 51 minutes of the movie takes place at this fucking house.
Yes.
It's like, Jesus Christ. It's a little much. Like, and honestly, this movie could be a tad bit shorter. I think you could probably knock this down to $140, $145. And I think that part of it is just getting rid of all of the shit that goes down at that house, because it's like, I don't know. Somehow it does make this world feel a little small. And I love seeing like, hey, a town in curfew. We see people getting the fuck out of town. Mm-hmm. We see like the closed for curfew signs. I like that. It's not like I need a bunch more of that, but I would like that instead of the 5 or 6 minutes of like the weird the chase around we get.
Right. That's the slasher thing though, right? I mean, like that's the, if there's not a girl running away from a masked killer, it's not a slasher movie. It's just, I talk about this all the time. I think I talked about this on Matt's new podcast, Upcoming Attractions. People get bogged down in genres a lot. I don't love. It's gonna be fucking so douchey when I say I don't love genres, but watching.
It's not like, hey, I made this piece of art and now it has to adhere to all of these things. It's like, no, it can be elements of other stuff.
Here's the conversation that I had with Matt on that podcast. I watched Candyman, the new one, and I was like, okay, this Candyman movie. It is a remake. It's a new reimagining, but it is trying to have a conversation about racial whatever that's happening in the world right now, and it's got all these pretty heavy themes, and it really incorporates that really well. Whether it's scary or not, that's not really it's really not that scary. It's just not. That's not what it is. And then Matt's obviously disappointed to hear that, because it's a horror movie, right? So it has to be scary.
But even the first one wasn't like Hellraiser, it's a very different kind of movie.
Right. But my point is the movie is pretty solid on that whole commentary of it, what it does, the racial commentary stuff. And but as a horror movie, a lot of people will be turned off because it's not scary. But it's still worth watching because of the commentary alone. Do you know what I mean? People get bogged down in the whole it's an action movie, there should be X many explosions. It's a romance, there should be X many smoochers or whatever the fuck. I don't know. I feel like people get bogged down in genres like that.
No, I definitely agree with you, and I think that people feel like you have to check boxes for certain things. Yeah. We're in a romantic comedy. What's our meet cute? We got to check that box off. And I think that with something like this, because I've heard some people say, hey, this is not borderline, not even a horror movie. It's almost more like a very intense thriller. It's a very intense, which I don't personally agree with that. I think thrillers are more
that's people splitting hairs, and I'm just why? Why is it important for us to categorize one or the other? You know what I mean?
Right. Well, what's fine is kind of it's like Aliens. Alien is a horror sci-fi movie, but Aliens is an action sci-fi movie with elements of horror. And I think it's fine to say hey, this is I guess this technically is a slasher, but this feels like more of a slasher thriller. Right. Whereas normal thrillers
with a hint of mystery, I think.
Right. Well, yeah, with a hint of mystery. And I feel like normal, thrillers or those kind of suspenseful movies, Sleeping with the Enemy or, Stalker movies or Fear with Mark Wahlberg. It's a slow burn and then everything explodes. Versus this, there's multiple explosions with these killings that go on through the movie. So I think it's actually a great, unique blend of a thriller slasher horror movie. And I think that it's a very light horror or a very hard thriller. And there's nothing wrong with that. And they're just interweaving between those two genres and adding that mystery element that you say. And I think that's great. That's how you get something like Scream that comes along and is, as you say, iconic,
Yeah. For me, I'm just interested in having you know, like that conversation sometimes with like genre. Because I feel like, you know, when someone says something's an action movie or a horror movie or a drama, it's a very quick and precise way to describe something, but it also sets up expectations that might not be realistic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Well, it's the same thing with people. People are like, "Oh yeah, he's a big sports guy." It's like,
right?
You just summed up an entire person in like a 2-word thing,
right?
You know?
Right.
Jesus.
And I don't know, like, you know, like especially a lot of movies these days. I mean, what did I just watch recently? Like, okay, let's talk about Knives Out very briefly. Knives Out is a mystery, like through and through. It's a mystery, but it's, you know, it's still got a lot of comedy. Like, you know, there's some little bit of action elements in it too. Like, it's tough. Like, you can't really describe something in such a very simplistic answer. And that's why I get bogged down. Like I don't love getting bogged down in like, what genre is that movie? You know, like I'm just like, I usually when someone asks me what's that movie about, I tell them the premise rather than the genre. And
give them the elevator pitch.
Right, exactly. Yeah, but that's just me. All right, where are we? So Sidney and Tatum have this conversation, and Sidney's beginning to show some doubt over Cotton Weary. And she says, "This isn't some Wes Carpenter flick," says Tatum.
I love that. That's a good author pin name. I was like,
yeah,
hey, I steal that. Wes Carpenter.
Also, sorry, I missed the Fonz. Right, the Fonz does this weird thing in the mirror where he puts a mask on, and he's like scares himself, and then he gets got. Right.
Yeah. Gets got.
And then we're in the video store. I love this scene, right? So Randy's talking to Stu about Billy. He's certain he's the killer. And it's fascinating to watch Stu just trying to throw him off track, right? Stu's even suggesting that Sidney's father, it might be Sidney's father, his body will probably come popping up in the last reel somewhere. It's good stuff. It's really, really good stuff. And then, you know, like Randy nails it. Randy nails the motive here. He says maybe Sidney wouldn't have sex with him.
Yeah. Well, also he kind of nails Stu's motive as well. He goes, it's the millennium. You know, the reasons for doing this are, you know, I can't remember exactly what he says.
Right, not important.
But it's inconsequential now. And I think that there's something too. The first time watching this, seeing the scenes of Lillard and Kennedy together makes me kind of like, man, I could totally believe these two guys are the killers, because they're like the way they're talking to each other and stuff, how quick they are. And it's like these guys seem like they're hashing something out, and they can talk to each other without really kind of stepping on each other's toes. And they're really kind of getting into something. And they do the same thing when they're at the party. Like whenever Billy and Sidney go upstairs, it's just Matthew Lillard and Jamie Kennedy. And it's like, man, I could totally see these two guys being the fucking killers. And I kind of wish it was, because Billy seems so obvious. And I just kind of wish they steered away from that and it just went another direction. But I don't know. I guess part of me doesn't love Billy's motivation because it's based on information that we really didn't kind of know, you know, that basically that her mom was out banging I guess she was banging Billy's dad, and that's why Billy killed her and just basically tore their family apart. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But I don't know. I don't love that, because it's kind of like, oh, let's give you a key piece of information and then go, aha. And it's like, well, I don't know. I didn't particularly love that. You know, same thing with Scary Movie too. It's kind of like, oh, wait, that's you? I was like, okay, whatever. Like, that's kind of weird, but I don't hate it. I kind of wish it was Randy and Stu. I don't know. I think they make a better pairing to me, but I don't know. Because ultimately, I don't give a shit about Skeet's motivations. It's Stu's. It's Stu being like, I just wanted to kill somebody. It's holy fuck. That's so, like, and again, right before Columbine happens, that's way too eerie, dude. That's way too eerie.
I mean, you know, we can talk about it when we get to the end more, but I mean, like, that was a clash of ideas. So Craven wanted wanted the killers initially to have no motivation at all, because he thought that was scary, which it is. But the studio said, no, we should probably have a motivation. So that's why it's one each.
Right.
So they kind of compromised on that. But like, I don't know. There's something about, I like Loomis as one of the killers because it's a serious performance. You know, it's a little bit more than like if it was Randy and Stu, Randy's not a serious
you need-
character. He's too comedic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You got to have them leveled out.
Right.
It's two of the same
level.
guys almost.
Yeah, it feels pretty level right now with Billy and Stu. And also, Stu does this thing a couple times in this movie where he leans on someone's shoulder.
Yeah.
Like he puts his chin on someone's shoulder, and I'm just like, oh, okay.
Well, and I think there's something great whenever Billy kind of, not to jump too far ahead, but when Billy starts kind of laying out exactly why he's doing this, you see Stu go, what? And I was like, yeah, that's how I feel right now.
Right.
What? Like, where the fuck did this come from?
Mm-hmm.
But this is a great scene between all three of them. This is really good.
This is a standout scene for sure. We get this Tori Spelling joke. Of course, Tori Spelling was in Scary Movie 2. Down the line.
I think she's Stab. I think she is Sidney and Stab.
She's in Stab?
I'm pretty sure that's Tori Spelling. Or it might be
I think in one of the sequels, like Stab 2 or 3, whatever pops up in Scream 2 or 3. But she's not in the first one. I think it's Heather Graham or someone who looks like Heather Graham.
God, I love Heather Graham.
Yeah. You looking that up? Is that?
Yeah, well, I'm looking up. Yeah, Heather Graham. Oh, okay. But it says Tori Spelling and Heather Graham are both in Scream 2. So I'm pretty sure Tori Spelling is the one in Stab at the beginning when Jada Pinkett gets it. But I can't be. It's been years.
She's definitely been in it. She definitely was in it. I can't remember at one point or what character, but she's definitely in it.
Right.
So the town's closing down for the night. Dewey went out for a goddamn ice cream. Jesus. Phone calls are listed to Sidney's father, right? And it's so funny, dude, because like as Dewey's speaking here with the chief, every time the chief pauses to take a drag on his cigarette, Dewey licks his goddamn ice cream.
Oh God. Like, I don't know. It's a little character thing, but it's just kind of like, okay, dude, we get it. He's kind of a man-child. I get it. I don't need him eating an ice cream cone.
Right. And we already talked about the small misdirect with the chief's boots, right? Putting out the cigarette butt.
Like, he might as well have walked up licking a giant lollipop with one of those hats that has the spinner fan on it. Like, oh, like, and Velcro light up shoes on.
The sound effect that they use is so fucking garbage, dude. Yeah.
Ugh. Jesus, sound like you're munching box down there, dude. Calm down.
You think that guy munches box? Get fucked.
No. Ugh.
Party at Stu's place, right? Gail and Dewey go and check out the party together. I love this conversation about Jamie Lee Curtis being the Scream Queen. And I love that they, again, just take the time to highlight that. Also, Jamie Lee Curtis was absolutely not nominated for Terror Train, as Randy says. I don't know where he got that.
Yeah, I was like, Terror Train? I don't think so.
I don't know where he got that. Gail plants the video camera. So Tatum and her tits are in the garage because they're two very different entities.
Oh, yeah. This, good Lord, gratuitous.
Dude, they are like headlights.
Right. And don't get me wrong. There's a part of me that there's never a bad time for boobs. But at the same time, I'm like, dude, I also don't want it to, like, come on, dude, just thrown at you like this.
I kind of wonder because, like, there's no nudity in this movie, right? So it's like, like, is this because they are trying to pay tribute to movies?
Tits. I need fucking tits in this movie. If you're not going to give me those fucking tits, you get the fuck out of here. Like, okay, calm down. It's like fucking Watto from... Watto. Like fucking Watto from Star Wars. Like, Jesus Christ.
No Republic credits, only money.
Oh, Jesus. Good Lord.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, probably Weinstein's just, in the back room somewhere being like, like,
well, because I think I don't quote me on this, but I think she had some kind of problem. I don't know if Weinstein assaulted her. I can't remember, but I know that. No, I'm sorry. Rose McGowan, one of the first women to speak publicly about Weinstein was Rose McGowan, who allegedly assaulted her in 1997 during the Sundance Film Festival. In 2016, she tweeted that she had been raped by an unnamed studio head. So yeah, I guess that is Weinstein. And it's like, yeah, I think that he is I remember her being one of the first ones because he really came after her. I think he really tried to ruin her shit. Mm-hmm. So like, honestly, it would not surprise me in the least bit if this is Harvey Weinstein. Like, I want to see some tits. It's like, God, you gross motherfucker, dude.
Yeah. Fucking. Yeah. As greasy as Skate's hair, man. Hey, quick question. Have you seen Planet Terror?
No, but I've heard she's great in the leg gun and stuff.
She's so good in that movie. Like, actually so fucking good. I mean, like, it's a very pulpy movie. Like, it knows exactly what it is, but yeah. So, yeah, Tatum in the garage. This scene rules, by the way. Because she actually, she actually starts beating the shit out of Ghostface. And like, I know those bottles are made out of breakaway glass, but they do a good job of making you feel the impact, man. Oh, I was like, fuck, that looks like it fucking hurt, man.
Yeah. It definitely feels like it's like an Irish bombs going on. Blah, blah, blah. She's getting fucking Irish rocked. Bombs.
She does this thing here, right? No, please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel. And, dude, the garage door death makes me cringe all the time, man. Like, the sound design is great. The prosthetic, whatever they use, is brilliant. They really sell this death. This is one of my favorite deaths in the entire series, I think.
Yeah, and her whole getup too. It really like a very 60s kind of getup she's got going on. Mm-hmm. The white boots, the skirt, the top. And I was like, man, this is. I don't know why that just really caught my eye in a movie.
Well, she looks like how Quentin dressed Margot Robbie in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Hell yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's kind of strange because she doesn't really have this aesthetic the whole movie, and it's not something her other friends have as well. So it's like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I don't know why. It just caught my eye. I think it was the skirt, the twirl, right. And I was like, wow, that's like hypnotic almost,
Billy rolls up to the party right after that, and if you look really closely, he shoots Stu this little look of, yo, it's done. Like when he's kind of like hanging out in the doorway. I fucking love it. It's awesome. Kenny and Gail review the footage. What'd you say?
Is that when he first walks up or whenever they start walking away?
No, when he first rolls up and like Stu's like, what are you doing here, Billy? There's a close up on Billy looking to the right. Sorry, to the left.
Oh, he does like the double
He's like the eyebrows. Yeah. Kenny and Gail review the footage. There's a 30-second delay on the footage, which is important information for us to know. Sidney and Billy have a conversation. She's afraid she'll turn out like her mother, the bad seed. And Billy says, dude, you know how fucking annoying it would be if some motherfucker, you're pouring your heart and soul out. And he's just like, yeah, it's like Jodie Foster in Silence of the Lambs. Dude, no.
Yeah, Jesus.
No. Can you fucking be real with me for a sec, man? Like Billy says, It's all a movie. It's all one great big movie. Only you can't pick your genre. I'd just be like, motherfucker, get out. Get the fuck out right now.
Right. Well, it's like I know I talk in analogies and similes and stuff all the time.
Pick your battles.
But that's because they help me understand stuff. It's not like, your dog dies and then, something happens and it's like, man, it's just like Lewis Creed in Pet Sematary. It's like, no, yes, you're right, but no, it doesn't apply here. Jesus Christ. Like, it doesn't work that way.
They have sex, much to Billy's delight, I'm sure. Also, a little bit of trivia. They didn't need lube because they had the grease from Billy's hair already.
Dude, it's like the greased up deaf guy from Family. He's just sliding around all over the floor. yeah, you never go, Cammy. I see you here. And he just like runs off.
Oh, man.
God, that is one of the most unique characters that show ever put out. And I fucking love Greased Up Deaf Guy. It is so fucking fun. It's so random and funny.
Did you see, wasn't there like there was an episode where they do like the origin of the Greased Up Deaf Guy?
Yes, I vaguely remember that.
Yeah.
All I remember is there's like the first time you actually see him is like Peter's, it's like an employee picnic. And it's like, all right, now time to play Catch the Greased Up Deaf Guy. And it's like everybody's catching him and he's just like slipping out of their arms and stuff like that. What do you think about them watching Halloween?
I like it. Yeah, it's interesting because like this, if it was any other director, they for sure would be watching A Nightmare on Elm Street.
I don't know.
I wonder if well, I don't
think so. I don't know.
No, I'm just saying because it's Wes Craven, because it's a self-referential movie.
Mm-hmm.
you know, Nightmare on Elm Street is the one that you'd guess that they'd be watching, but like, I'm thinking about Halloween because it's the seminal slasher, right? I mean, like, that's the one. That's
right.
the one.
I think that's why. I think that with Halloween kind of setting the, and I'll be 1,000% honest. I love John Carpenter, but his movies can be misogynistic. Like, he can have a lot of like all male cast, and they're very like, I don't know, they're so testosterone driven, and like nobody ever actually drinks water. Everybody drinks alcohol. It's like, Jesus Christ. And they're almost like fucking Westerns sometimes. But I think there's something interesting about doing that. And inherently, I don't think when they made that movie, they were like, oh, she doesn't have sex, she doesn't drink alcohol, and she gets to live.
Right.
And it's like, no, that was just kind of, an accident, a happy accident. But I do think it speaks to a larger subconscious thing of like, you kept your hands clean so you got to stay alive, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is kind
That's
of
what
interesting.
Randy says.
I think,
yeah.
Right. So I like the fact that they're watching Halloween because it kind of gets away from Carpenter. And we totally missed Carpenter's cameo, by the way, as Fred the janitor, which I love
with the sweater and everything, and the
yeah, it's easy to it's very quick to miss. But I think them watching it is really interesting because
cameo, not Carpenter's.
Yeah, Craven. Yeah, thank you, Jesus Christ, Craven, Wes Carpenter. John Craven. But
John Craven,
the thing I like,
that's a good
John
name
Craven's
for a fucking protagonist, man. I like that.
It's not terrible. But I like them watching this, and it's intercut with them having sex at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, it shows that what's her name sitting up in bed, and then it cuts to Neve Campbell taking her shirt off, and I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. Like, I like this.
Well, yeah, no, it's awesome because like this is Randy laying out the rules. Right. I mean, he says, you can never have sex, you can never drink or do drugs, and never ever say, I'll be right back. And this, like really kind of like accentuates that, oh, fuck, Sidney's now in trouble because she's having sex. Good stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely. It highlights like all the things that maybe moviegoers kind of knew, but now it's like, no, now we're saying it out loud for everybody.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's interesting, actually. Like, I kind of wonder what the landscape was before this movie came out. I mean, like, you know the tropes, right? Like, I mean, if you grew up in the 80s, if you grew up watching those 80s slasher flicks, whether it's Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street or Halloween, like, you'd know the tropes, right? Like, you'd know that if there's people having sex, they're going to fucking die.
Yeah.
But this was the movie that actually validated that. I guess that whole idea.
Yeah, I think it sealed the ink for sure.
Yeah.
I think that Roddy McDowall in Fright Night has a great thing where he's hosting a TV show about vampires and monsters and stuff, and his show gets canceled. And they're like, Mr. Vincent, what happened? Why did they cancel your show? And he was like, because instead of watching vampires, people would much rather watch some guy run around in a ski mask hacking up young virgins. And it's like, yes, even in 85, people were saying like, dude,
these are all sound like Malcolm McDowell. You sounded like fucking Malcolm McDowell.
Well, if you've ever heard Roddy McDowell talk, he's a half English, half American. Like, it's very, very. Have you ever seen Fright Night, the original, 85?
No.
Oh, dude, that is so good.
I like the remake.
Jesus,
I like the remake.
It's not. I didn't say it was bad. I'm just saying that the 85 Fright Night is like, that was my vampire movie for a long time. It is so good. I love the 85 Fright Night. I think it's one of the few of those movies that's like, no, this still holds up. This is just
somehow
as good as
Colin
it was back
still
then.
managed to sneak in fucking Fright Night and Monster Squad.
Yeah.
And
Hell
Monster
yeah.
Squad in this
The
episode.
armies of the night are coming. Man, I came that close to picking Fright Night at one point. I was like, no. It's like when you want a nut and you're fucking just like, no, think of baseball. Like, think of something else. And you're like, no, I will not nut. And you're like not looking down at her because you're like, I'm gonna nut. Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, who was the guy that was the DP of fucking Shawshank? Oh, Roger Deakins.
And you just nut to Roger Deakins.
Oh no. I started thinking of that shot in the desert.
81-year-old man.
I started thinking of the opening swooping crane shot of fucking Shawshank.
Oh, fuck. I just thought about fucking No Country for Old Men. God damn it.
When Andy Dufresne came to me in 1949. All
right, where are
I
we?
love me some Roger Deakins though.
Well, dude, fucking king.
On the real.
I can't. Honestly, when we talk about Sicario,
Yeah,
man,
God, I love Roger Deakins.
yeah. Well, he was honestly like, yeah, I'm not spending too much more time on this, but he was the best to ever do it, man. I mean, like, there are great cinematographers out there like Dean Cundy and Robert Richardson who shoots a lot of like Tarantino shit, but once you see Deakins, you know it's Deakins. Like, you know what I mean? You don't even need to see the credit. And you're like, that's fucking.
Well, and
Deakins.
the fact that the same guy who did Sicario, did Blade Runner, did Shawshank. It's like those are so fucking different.
No Country for
Those
Old
are
Men.
so fucking different. Yeah, no country. It's like good
Skyfall,
Lord,
dude. Like the guy did Skyfall and
Skyfall, whatever that song is.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one. But yeah, Dewey and Gail go and investigate an abandoned car at the end of the road. Turns out it's Sidney's father's, and they question what he's doing there. Dude, do you know what that constellation is? No. What is it? I don't know. Come on, Dewey. Come on, Dewey.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, by the way, I got a question for you. Was there ever a time, you're getting hot and heavy with a girl, they take their shirt off, and you couldn't help it, but you were just compelled to say amazing?
Maybe not amazing. I don't know. I mean, there's definitely been times where I've been like, oh, hell yeah. Oh, goddamn. Or like, because it's important when you're seeing, that person naked for the first time. I think that you got to watch A, the expression on your face, and then B, what you're saying.
No, man,
because it can be.
They take their shirt off and you're just going to remain stone faced. You're just going to be like,
right. You take their shirt off and it's like, this pleases me. Like, you just try not to react too much.
Well, dude, one of my favorite, it's so fucking shit. It's such a shit line. The Friday the 13th remake, the 2009 one. So they're having sex and he's grabbing her tits, right? So she's riding him and he says, your nipple placement is stupendous.
Wow. That's like highly specific. Good. I mean, it's not a bad thing to like, but it's just so specific.
Just like, and this is coming from like a dumb jock character, so it's just like,
right.
Where the fuck did that come from?
He's just got really, really bad OCD, and he's like, oh yeah, those are perfect.
Oh, yeah, perfectly. If it was a millimeter to the left, I'd be turned off. But yeah, the entire party is excited to see their dead principal, right? They leave, which is kind of funny because like, throughout this movie, there's been this like whole air of like morbid curiosity with the students. So I guess by this point, you kind of buy this,
Yeah, like these are definitely, I feel like, the people in a few years when like Kazaa and LimeWire and all that stuff, like Napster, like I guess LimeWire to a later degree, but with these file sharing, they're the ones who start making like faces of death and shit, and they start making like the dead bodies. And did you notice the movie on top when when it zooms in on the camera sitting there? Did you catch the movie, the VHS sitting next to the camera? It's fucking Clerks. I was like, oh, that's really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's like just a couple years before this, and it's a Miramax movie. And Kevin Smith talked about a wine scene and stuff somewhere else, and I
wonder if they were buddies. Yeah, that'd be awesome. I like both those guys.
So post fuck, right? Sidney asked Billy who he called in jail. This is the worst time to be answering questions. This is right after you have sex. Because you don't know. You're not thinking clearly,
No, yeah. Well, and also it's like post-sex. So even though, they've just had sex and he's tying up her shoes and she's like wearing an oil driller's like outfit and she's got like the hard hat on and she's like covered in shit.
It's just the opening of Armageddon.
Yes, God damn it. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Oh,
it's like fucking Bruce Willis at the beginning of Armageddon. But yeah, this is, I mean, I get being swept up in the moment, and now she has pretty concrete evidence that Billy's not the killer. And I think that she's like, yeah, I did. Maybe what he said was kind of dog shit, but maybe he does have some valid points of like, hey, it's been a year. maybe I don't need to sit in this rut, and maybe I need to kind of move on. And she does admit, hey, I do have some problems with intimacy, rightfully so. I'm not saying that she's saying these things and it's like, yeah, you stupid bitch. It's like, no, you're realizing some things that are very healthy reactions to stuff. But now you're having an even more healthier reaction that's like, hey, I need to figure out how to process this stuff and kind of move on. And that's great. And that's what I think. It's not really scary to me, Stu and Billy and their turn. It's more tragic and awful for Sidney, because it's like you're using this as a catalyst to kind of maybe try to get over some of those feelings and move on with your life with somebody that you really love. And it turns out that they are
your support system is fighting back on you. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's very interesting. I feel just absolutely terrible for her in this. Just imagine, being a young woman and having sex with somebody for the first time, and that person immediately being like, I'm going to cut your fucking heart out. Like, holy hell. That's, whew.
Well, I mean, like what happens here, this is he gets attacked here, right? I mean, like, this is, she says, if it were you, it would be, he says, if it were you, sorry, I'm fucking this up. She says, if it were you, it would be a clever way to throw me off track using your one call to make me believe it wasn't you. Right? I mean, like, this is... Come on. I mean, like, let's admit it. After we've nutted, that's our best fucking mindset, right? I mean, like, we're thinking completely clearly. Come on,
that's still... he called her and being like, too bad your boyfriend's sitting in jail. So he brought in a voice coder and they set him up in a room where nobody could hear this phone call? I don't know. That's a bit...
Wasn't it Stu?
That's a bit flimsy.
Or is it him?
Yeah.
That's what
it has to be Stu. I think it has to be Stu.
It's going to be Stu.
And I think that she said, she's drawing some line. I don't know. I don't totally need this. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it isn't Stu. But I definitely feel like it's like, no, this is a stretch if this is Billy. Why would it need to be Billy? Why wouldn't it just be Stu? It's so much easier if it's Stu.
I like that there's this doubt here because immediately, like 5 seconds later, he gets stabbed. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like that final little bit of like dip before we...
Because he's like, what do I have to do? And then you see him sneaking up behind you and you're like, whoa, shit. Yeah. Like, there's visual confirmation now. Like, oh, that's crazy.
An incredibly clever misdirect on the script's part. Ghostface chases Sidney. She ends up falling off the roof. Like you said, a little bit of cat and mouse here. And this goes on for a while, for the rest of the movie. Meanwhile, Randy's watching Halloween by himself. Dude, like him saying, the actor being Jamie Kennedy saying, watch out, Jamie, look out behind you is so fucking good and incredibly meta. I love it. Sidney makes it to Kenny's van where they see Randy about to be stabbed, but it's a 30-second delay and boom, Kenny bites it. Love this moment of Gale in the van and Kenny's blood all over the windshield, dude, like him on top of the roof.
Isn't it Randy at the window and she clocks him like 3 times with the phone?
Yeah.
Oh, that's brutal, man.
Yeah. She drives the van off the road where it's totaled simply because of the fact that she's a female driving a car.
Dude, that's 100% what this feels like. It's like, dude, she's never heard of a fucking, or like I could understand losing control a little bit. Yes, apply the fucking brakes. And it's, God damn it. This definitely feels like.
She's a woman.
Dog shit.
She's got a vagina.
Yeah. This definitely feels like a studio note. Like, listen, our kind of viewership polls show that a lot of men think that women are bad female or bad drivers in general. So
yes, Wes, this is Harvey.
Yeah,
I need you to crash the car and show that women are all beneath us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Harvey Weinstein's just like, listen, I want you to put her in the car and I want you to wreck it for real. Just fucking put her into that tree. Just do it.
You know what, Wes? I hate that Friends show that they got over on NBC.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I like Seinfeld. Fuck this show. Fuck it. I hate Friends.
That Elaine woman. Oh, she gets me on. Dewey stumbles out of the house with a knife in his back because of course he does. Sidney's chased by Ghostface. Dude, I love this moment here. Ghostface comes out of the house, takes the knife out of Dewey's back and I love it. It's awesome. And they have this moment in the car where she's locking all the doors. He's got the keys. It's good stuff, cat and mouse stuff, things you expect to see in slasher movies. And Sidney calls for help here, right? Manages to connect to 911 and actually ends up saying the right thing. She says, "I'm at Stu Marker's house. Please help me. He's going to try and kill me." That's what she says.
Yeah.
Really good stuff.
Because at this point, there's only so many people it could be, and everyone's kind of accounted for,
Stu and Randy have this moment in front of Sidney that, he did it. She goes back in the house, closes the door just as Billy comes tumbling down the stairs. And then we get the moment, right? We all go a little mad sometimes. Anthony Perkins, Psycho.
I can't go past when she's looking. She's like, "Fuck you both," and just slams the door.
She's like, "Please leave me alone."
This is like Ripley at the beginning of Alien. She's like, "No, we're not fucking letting that guy in here." That's the end of it. I love that.
Corn syrup, same stuff they use for pig's blood and carry, says Billy. It's at this moment that I'm reminded of just how much I really like the script, right? It's these kids who grew up watching movies and use that knowledge to pull off a serial murder spree. I really dig it.
Mm-hmm.
Stu and Billy are in the kitchen, and this is the moment, right? This is the big monologue scene. This is the scene that the movie's been working towards, the big reveal. Such a great moment, man. I love the revelation that there were two killers and then what their motives were, because honestly, the first time I saw this was 100% not expecting two killers. 100%.
Yeah, well, they've made such a big deal. It's almost like Hot Fuzz.
Yeah,
no luck catching them killers. Then it's not until you have that seed planted. Right. It's not until somebody else puts that idea in your head, and the idea is never proposed. I can't believe there wasn't at least maybe like panning through the police station. There was at least one person being like, "What if it's more than one guy?" And it's like, well, who's to say it's even a guy? Mm-hmm. Again, it's these conceptions. Like if this had been two women, that would have been even more insane. Like, holy shit.
Well, the great thing about this movie, dude, is that it really, again, when you watch it again, it really highlights that Stu and Billy are the killers. Whereas the sequels, so 2, 3, and 4, really go out of their way to hide who the killers are. So it's really obvious who the killers are eventually. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like this movie does the misdirect so well because it puts it right up on Front Street. So Cotton Weir is framed by Billy and Stu. It's a lot scarier when there's no motive. Your mother was no Sharon Stone. There's a lot of great lines here. I just kind of jotted them down. Turns out Billy's father was having an affair with Sidney's mother, caused his mother to move out and abandon him. And, man, Matthew Lillard turns his Lillard sauce dial all the way up to 11 here.
Yeah, the ice cream machine that is Matthew Lillard is just like broken and overflowing. It's drowning a small town somewhere. It's like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, but that's got to be one of my favorite parts is when he's waving that gun and he just keeps doing the whole thing with his hands. He's like, "Yeah, you're not a virgin anymore." And it just, good Lord, I can see why he has an issue with this now, but it's almost charming how over the top he is.
Charms to it, right? I was just about to use that same exact word, dude. Yeah.
I think that it's just because if he were just like this during the movie, God, I'd want to blow his brains out. Mm-hmm. But the fact that he in this moment is just like this, of course, this is a guy who's been at about a 6 the whole movie. Now he's at a 10. Of course, this is at the climax. You're doing some crazy shit here,
right?
So I like it. I think it's appropriate for the most part. Maybe a little over the top,
He holds out Sidney's father, who they're going to use as a scapegoat, and Billy and Stu stab each other to make it look real. This is incredibly fucked up. It's a fucked up plan. I mean, it's sadistic, actually. Take away the comedic elements of this movie, and this is a David Fincher 7 movie. It's fucking wild.
Yeah. You might want to kill Sidney first. So you're not bloody running around. It's kind of stupid, the fact that they planned all this stuff. And then they're like, well, let's stab each other. So we track blood all through this house, chasing Sidney around. Mm-hmm. And so we create a forensic trail that will lead us. This is stupid. Why would you not kill her first and then just do everything very quickly right afterwards?
So,
I don't know.
Interestingly, and spoilers for Scary Movie 4, which is now 10 years old, so fuck you. The killer in that movie is Sidney Prescott's cousin. played by Emma Roberts.
Wait, Scary Movie
Scream
4?
Scream 4, sorry.
I was like, Jesus, wait a minute.
Sorry, spoilers for Scream 4. The killer in that movie is Sidney Prescott's cousin, played by Emma Roberts, and the motive is that she's jealous that Sidney got all of this fame and attention, and she wanted some of that fame and attention, right? So Wes Craven actually ends up fixing that error for you, Colin, because he supposedly kills Sidney at the end of that movie in the big reveal scene, and then she starts doing the whole, let me stab myself, make myself look like the hero. So she is supposedly dead in that scene. Sidney is.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and then what happens is there's this big kind of like epilogue where Emma Roberts' character wakes up in hospital. Dewey comes over. They all think that she's a hero, and come to find out that Sidney's not dead. She's in ICU. So,
nice.
Yeah, like, you know, like he kind of ends up fixing it up. Like, you know, yeah, that whole kind of like whole. Sorry, Billy. I guess I got a little too zealous, huh? Now, Sid, don't you blame the movies. Movies don't make psychos. Movies make the psychos more creative. And then, you know, you get I'm feeling a little woozy here.
Oh, dude. Woozy here, man.
Oh, it's so good.
That's so good.
And then Gail's got the gun, but she's overpowered by Billy, who kicks her into the soft and fluffy belly of an unconscious Dewey. Dude, the way she lands on his fucking stomach is fucking hilarious. It's like a little soft pillow.
Like, instead of like the thunk, she just hits the ground. It's like a very light tap.
Sidney makes a run for it, calls the house, right? Turns the tables on Billy, and Stu's feeling the pain. I think I'm dying here, man.
Yeah.
And,
did you really call the police? Right. You bet your ass I did. Mom and Dad are gonna kill me.
You guys, my mom and Dad are gonna be so mad at me.
Yeah.
No, my favorite is fucking hit me with the phone, dick.
Yeah, that is, and not only, I know for sure that first one is ad-libbed, but it really shows you the mindset of Stu to be like, oh yeah, my mom and dad are going to be so upset with me. It's like it's
that childish thinking still, right? It's that childish thinking.
Absolutely.
It actually adds a bit of weight to it. To be honest, just a reminder that these are kids.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Billy hunts for Sidney. I love Halloween playing out in the background. You've got John Carpenter's score. It's a clever way to just, you know, remind you of like what this is. She ends up stabbing him multiple times with the umbrella. Then her and Stu go at it, and he ends up dying by TV, which is ironic. Can you imagine Jamie Lee Curtis pointing the knife at Michael Myers being the last thing you see alive?
Yeah. That's cool. And that TV, dude, those things were fucking heavy. Like that's
CRT TVs, yeah, massive, dude.
Yeah.
Billy's alive. He's about to stab Sidney, but is blown away by Gale, and his death is great. Craven takes the time to show us that he's done, right? Kind of like lulling us into a false sense of security as he kind of bleeds out here. But of course, we get one last moment of him springing back to life before Sidney plugs him in the forehead and says, "Not my movie."
I do love, because I'm watching it right now, is when Randy pops back up and she's like, "Randy, you're alive." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "God, I never thought I'd be so happy to be a virgin." That's a great line. Apparently when she fucking gets Skeet Ulrich with that umbrella, like that really fucking stabbed him. Apparently that really fucked him up.
Oh, really? Fuck.
Yeah, I think she actually got him pretty good. But yeah, she ends up. I love Gale, and I love him raising up with the knife. It's all edited very well right here. But her blowing him away, and it's like the headshot is so visceral. It's almost like the beginning of RoboCop when they blow Peter Weller's head off. Like when he popped his head, like slams into the fucking ground. It's like, oof, man, that's rough. I guess maybe it's just the shot, the angle of it, but the white t-shirt and like the blood in his teeth, and you're like, ooh, man, this guy's really had it.
It feels really impactful. I really love it. One little piece of trivia that I kind of skipped by. So apparently Ghostface's robe was supposed to be white, but they changed it because it looked like a KKK costume.
Could you imagine? The guy in all white chasing like Jada Pinkett Smith through a movie theater, and she's like, guys, I don't think this is gonna work.
Oh shit! All right, man. That's Scream. What a fucking good time!
Oh God,
what a fucking good time! Had a blast.
Jesus Christ,
you're a fuck.
Took long enough. No, I dig this movie. Do you want to do closing thoughts or comments first?
We'll do listener comments first. Do you have them pulled up?
Yeah. I'll start first. I've got the one from the After Party. If you want to join our group on Facebook, as well as liking the page, again, that's called the After Party. And you can chime in with comments and get them read off like Green member Patrick Harrington. What a fantastic movie with all the meta references and in-genre tropes and jokes. It also has some characters that you want to root for. You like Sidney and want her to get through this. You have arguably the most iconic opening scene of any horror movie ever. Number 2, Sidney might be, just because throughout the series she ends up owning it and using her status not to be a... Oh, wait, I forgot this is in response to your question.
Yeah. So do you want to read my questions?
You have 3 questions. Yeah. Number 1, what are your thoughts on the film and the meta slasher? Number 2, is Sidney Prescott the definitive final girl? If not, who's your pick? And number 3, why is Dewey the worst? We've already kind of gotten into number 3, but I'll read theirs off. Again, Patrick's first answer was when it has some great characters you want to root for. It's arguably one of the best opening scenes in a horror movie ever. Now, Sidney, he was talking about Sidney being a greatest final girl. And Sidney might be, just because throughout the series she ends up owning it and using her status to not be a victim anymore, but to empower herself. Nancy Thompson from the Nightmare on Elm Street series is the second close for the same reasons. Definitely agree with that, 100%. Nancy Thompson probably is the closest one. That or like Sarah Connor or Ellen Ripley. They're probably the closest. Number 3, in response to why is Dewey the worst, I love Patrick's answer. Look, I love David Arquette in this series, but how on earth did Dewey pass the police academy? When the door opens and he has the mask and screams, get it? Screams. And him going to the party and being cool with underage drinking, you fired. I love this movie. It's in my top 5 favorite horror movies. Looking forward to your coverage. Thank you, Patrick.
Awesome, Patrick.
Always fun.
Let me go ahead and read Jose Rivera's. By the way, this is the Tribunal.
Yeah, there you go. Tribunal.
The Tribunal of Green Room members. But anyway, so Jose, thank you so much for commenting, brother. He says, number 1, I like the movie. Not only was it a slasher movie that was self-aware like the cartoons I was watching at the time, and in parentheses, Tiny Toons and Animaniacs being prime examples, but it also had a mystery aspect. Who was the killer? How close can you get to figuring it out? The mystery became just as important as the kills in the series. In response to whether Sydney's the ultimate final girl, he says, I'd put Sidney right up there. Not only is she gorgeous, but she's been allowed to grow as a character through the films. There are times she's ahead of the killer because she's been through this before. That's a great point, Jose. That is a solid point. Like, she is...
I didn't really consider that.
She is taking things that she's learned in previous films and applying them in the films that she is currently in, and that's awesome. Like, there's a moment in the trailer for the new Scream movie, where, she picks up the phone and she says, I'm Sidney Prescott. Of course I'm ready. Well, of course I have a gun. Sorry. And I'm just like, yeah, I fucking love that, man. Like, it's a good...
It's okay.
It's just like it's recognizing that your protagonist has been through some shit. I love that shit. Like that's why I like Jamie Lee Curtis's character in the 2018 Halloween. She was ready for Michael Myers.
Well, and it might even make a little bit more sense in Scream because it's like all this is canonical. Like 2, 3, and 4 is all that has all actually happened.
Totally. So. There are times when she's ahead of the killer. She knows where this is going. And after every film, she picks herself up and tries to move on with her life. Yep, totally. And in response to Dewey, Jose says, I don't like Dewey. So 2 for 2. He says, it said that he was supposed to die in the first film, but they liked him so much they changed it, which sucks because really, what does he add to the sequels? His scenes with Gale always slows the film to a crawl. Okay, yeah, I can see that. I can see the pacing being slowed down. But I like the exchanges a lot. You know what I mean? Like, I like the exchanges that they have. So, yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah, because I feel like there's only like 2 of them and they're short. Maybe in the sequels it gets a little bit more extraneous, but I'm not well versed in those.
Jose continues. He says, we know nothing We know nothing's going to happen to him because he's so well liked, so any tension goes right out the window. Let's face it, we're stuck with him. That's what I was saying. Do you want to go ahead and read Danielle's?
Yeah, let me get this pulled up here. Danielle Cutter, again, all these being our lovely, lovely members of our Patreon, The Green Room. Thank you guys for supporting us. Number one, Danielle says 100% this movie still holds up. The acting is good. The acting is good to excellent. The kills are magnificent, and the script is still snappy, funny, and irreverent in the best way possible. Number two, while not my favorite final girl, I would argue she is the best final girl. She makes it through, spoiler alert, all 4 of her movies, and she always comes out on top. She has some of the best lines, and she's always the smartest person in the room. And she's played by Neve Campbell, who is apparently aging backwards. Yeah, absolutely. Number 3, I love Dewey, and his theme in the movie is... I love Dewey, and his theme in the movie is some of my favorite scoring of all time. Love this movie and the series. Not you, Part 4. Excited for your coverage.
That's interesting. Part 4 is... Yeah, it's pretty weak. Don't love it.
Mm-hmm.
Think it's okay. One thing I really wanted to mention, she says the kills are magnificent. I wholeheartedly agree, but I can see the modern audiences not appreciating it as much in a post kind of like Saw world where, you know, the kills are so, I guess, weirdly inventive, or, you know, people are killed in different ways that we haven't imagined before. You know, Ghostface prefers the knife. You know, he prefers a straight up stabbing, very much like Michael Myers, but it's the impact of those kills that really elevates Scream's kills to me, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think kind of getting into my final thoughts, I think that I like the kills because nothing really seems as gruesome as that first one. And that first one really came out and was like, it really felt like, when you're watching a good fight and you see somebody hit that fucking jab and you're like, oh shit, like they really stuck that punch and it's really kind of hurt this person. So I think it set a good standard for the rest of the kills, but it was never really going to get any more gruesome than that. Maybe Tatum's, but everybody else is like either like Billy gets shot, a couple people get stabbed, but Casey gets her fucking guts ripped out and hung from a tree. It's like, holy shit, that's pretty awful. And you actually see most of it. So I think that all in all, it's hard to follow that first kill, but they don't really try to either. So I think that's interesting. They weren't trying to top anything, just to top something. But I enjoy this movie. I do like it. I don't love it. I think that it can be a tad shorter, and I think that it's not going to age well as time goes on. I think that it's definitely showing some age now with like, hey, yeah, he's got this cellular telephone. It's like, well, that's kind of like literally everybody on the planet has one now, probably. And it's something that's kind of funny about that, of like just somebody calling from a phone and not, you know, now it's like, dude, I could reverse search your phone number, pull it up, search your phone number on the internet, figure out where you live
and where she lives.
Right, exactly. So it does feel kind of, and that can just be our snarky, like millennial brains, you know, because we were kids when this came out. But the thing is, it's almost like that movie when a stranger calls, when it's like, oh, the call's coming from inside of the house, but it's like that the whole movie, and it's somebody so close to you striking, and it is kind of a whodunit of, well, you know, who shot JR, who is the person who's doing these crazy things, and I think that ultimately it has some questions about the genre that it's in, and kind of saying like, hey, isn't some of this stuff kind of becoming formulaic? You know, and I like the fact that they kind of challenge some of those things with also kind of keeping in the tradition of some, you know, all the virgins do survive, and a lot of people that have sex do die. And I think that's pretty funny, but it's also so ironic to see, well, maybe not ironic, the right word, but seeing these like cynical, you know, because the 90s were full of this time of like, it's not cool to care. It's not cool to show emotion. It's, it's cool to just be this like whatever, like kind of thing. And I think that seeing these kids have these kind of mindsets and then also just being so cynical about their friends being like gutted apart, but then to see them getting murdered and they're like, oh no, it's like, oh yeah, you're not so cool now, are you? Like there's something that's kind of funny about that. But all in all, I think this has held up pretty good. I would say it's a solid 7 out of 10, but I don't know. I'm worried about how this movie's going to hold up in years to come. Maybe the new one will be good. I don't know, but I don't know. I'm not holding my breath.
I think, what was this? 1996. So 25 years, right? So I think, I'm happy with the way it's aged. Like there are obviously some hilarious things like the mobile phones, but I mean, overall, as far as the story goes, just in terms of the whodunit aspect and the misleading aspect, and it could be Billy, but maybe it's not Billy because he was cleared, his phone bills were clear. I think for a first time viewer, if you're sitting a 16-year-old down to watch this movie, I think ultimately it might be effective just because of that aspect alone, the whodunit, you know what I mean? And then it's like, oh, fuck, I never considered 2 killers. You know what I mean? So I think on that level, it works, 25 years later. But yeah, I think, it definitely is it's starting to show its cracks a little bit. The dialogue isn't always great. You kind of do need to transport yourself back to 1996 a little bit and put yourself into the landscape of horror films at that time. You kind of need to understand you don't need to understand all of the references to the movies that they're talking about. You do need to understand some of them, right? I mean, they're talking about Silence of the Lambs, they're talking about Carrie, they're talking about all this, and, like the Terror Train, and, like Jamie Lee Curtis, and, it's like, okay, like what's, there is some knowledge that I need to bring in here. It's like, being versed in the MCU, but not to that extent. By the time you get to Infinity War, you're just like, okay, hold on. I need to back up, do a little bit of research, and then I'll be able to appreciate this a bit more. But, I think you can still enjoy this for the most part if you're not a huge fan of film or of the horror genre. I think you can still enjoy it. I think everyone gives a good performance on this. In this movie, including Lillard. I think he's a bit too hard on himself because, he is this guy who was just roped in to kill with Billy. And he sells that a lot. I think Craven does a great job of directing this movie. It's shot incredibly well. Marco Beltrami's score is awesome. Nev Campbell is great. And I think it's unpredictable. To have a movie probably 25 years later that can work on the unpredictability aspect level, still solid in my opinion.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's
well,
it,
guys,
baby.
if you enjoyed this episode, you can check us out. We have more. This is episode 250. We have 249 other episodes for you guys to check out. We also have our Breaking Bad podcast that's called Bad Crystal. You can find that. Just search for Bad Crystal or Breaking Bad podcast. It's going to be through our Midnight Double feature, our brand. No, I'm just kidding. But if you do want to check out some other of our stuff, we have some written reviews. We have some merch. You can find all that at midnightdoublefeature.com. Again, check out the Patreon, patreon.com/Midnight Double Feature, and stop by and rate review us on iTunes. You can find all of our socials in the show notes. Zohab, you got anything else before we get out of here?
No, that's it. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. This is awesome.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun. We haven't really, we honestly have not tapped into a lot of slashers. So this has actually been kind of interesting. This is an LITE slasher. So I kind of like that. But guys, we hope you enjoyed the episode. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye.
We'll be right back.